Gentlemen.
Doctor. I don't know why I call you doctor, but I do. I know you're not really a doctor.
It's the thing he says.
You did stay at Holiday Inn Express, though.
It's the thing he says.
I love it.
So just so you know, that was the AI song of the week. Okay. Talking about fixing the potholes, which
Called
is
Fix the Holes?
Fix the Holes.
Holes with an LES at the end.
And,
so we're clear.
and how I was bragging about how AI was like creating kind of interesting songs, and I was spending less than 2 minutes creating them. I told these guys, but that I created 2 songs in less than 5 seconds.
That's
It
insane.
depresses me as a musician.
Yeah, it
really does.
It's really kind of crazy.
It is actually insane.
I gave it one line of code. I said, create a catchy song about fixing the potholes in Evansville, Indiana. And it created that, and it created another song that sounds completely different.
Crazy.
So anyway, welcome back, Joe.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be back.
Sorry, there we go. So I had to cancel right before spring break because I got sick, and this little crazy tickle cough is just a leftover from that.
It's just very persistent.
It is.
It'll hang out there for a while.
Everybody has been talking about how it just won't go away and won't go away.
Well, the allergies aren't helping anything either.
That's true.
So that won't help anything.
How you been, man?
I've been well. There's lots of stuff going on.
Oh man, in the last 3 weeks, it's crazy, and probably should just start with the things that have happened most recently since they're fresh in your head. I know you went to the IURC listening session last night.
I did.
How enlightening it's sounding. That had to be really enlightening just by the way it's a listening session.
It was probably one of the most nonsensical, performative, political events I've ever been to in my entire life. Not one thing happened, not one thing will happen. It was condescending at best. And I watched politicians come up there, with one or two very rare exceptions, but politicians come up to the front of the gathering, spend enormous amounts of time talking about absolutely nothing they know about, and basically field trialing campaign speeches. It means absolutely nothing.
Making the people that were sitting there listen to the whatever.
Absolutely. We were trapped in waiting our turn to have conversations.
And I heard that went on for like 45 minutes, right?
Yeah.
45 minutes of not listening.
45 minutes of them just pontificating about absolutely nothing they know about.
Like right there on the floor?
Wild. Yeah.
So I wonder if the
Basically.
IURC meant when it said listening sessions that we want to listen to your politicians.
Well,
I don't think that was probably it.
They started off the meeting with a description of what the IURC does, which they're not wrong. I'm glad they did. I'm glad they framed it in that way. The IURC, for those that do not know, is literally just judges. There's 5 of them. There's a mixture of Democrats and Republicans, and once they get there, they're nonpartisan. They have no party affiliation whatsoever. They enter into their term as an IURC commissioner, and they cannot do anything but execute the legislative path that's been laid in front of them. The state legislature creates the rule book by which the IURC operates. So if Centerpoint fills out their paperwork properly, they have to approve it. There's nothing that they can do.
So it's purely performative.
This was 100% performative. We actually have another rate increase coming in July. It's going to be incredibly painful for Southern Indiana, and it's just absolute nonsense. And to hear people like Alex Burton get up there and talk about Bill 1002 and talk about affordability, that bill does absolutely jack shit to make anything more affordable. All it does is create levelized billing for the most part. In fact, it'll probably raise the costs because of the administrative costs and red tape that are now going to be required to fulfill the obligation of the bill. It is a perfect working illustration of how little he knows about how the energy markets and how the energy industry and how regulations actually work. And he keeps highlighting what he calls his mentor, Ed Saladay, who is probably one of the most irritating people in the state legislature. This guy has no idea how much he pays for his power. He had to literally ask his wife, he's on the record saying this, and says he believes that all of our energy rates are affordable. Combine this with the IURC saying, we recognize that Indiana is a regulated monopoly and that we're not willing or interested in promoting any type of capital market expansion. They put up pictures from 1916, 1917 of all these crooked telephone poles with power lines scattered all about. It is the most nonsensical, irritating. It was painful to experience this. And combine that with the heartfelt pouring out of these people that were there struggling. It made me so angry at these politicians that were there. Jim Toms, he did a great job. He got out there. He's very passionate. He actually works on this regularly, calls people out, challenges the IURC, which I appreciate. He's a blue collar guy that's representing his constituents in the West Side. He goes up there and talks about what he knows, and he's passionate about it. That is about the extent of the passion. He does not act like he knows everything about energy. He says, "Why is this happening? You explain this to me." Instead of, "This is what I'm doing. This is all the things that I've done. This is all this affordability work I'm doing." What they've done is absolutely nothing. This will do nothing to make things more affordable. It won't stop the rate increases coming. It's actually going to increase probably by 5 to 8%. Our bills will go up because they now have to hire people to manage the new red tape that they've now put in place. It is absolute lunacy that these people are getting up there performing for us. They're just performing as they stumble through their prepared statements they're reading off a page. They have no idea what they're talking about.
Was there anything that you could grasp a hold of and say, this might be an ounce of something that can help us into the future do actually something about it? Was there anything in that? How long was the meeting? And
it went till 8:30, 8:40, something like that. Started at 6.
Okay.
I mean, it was absolutely the saddest thing I've been to in a long time. The saddest thing I've seen before that was the IURC hearing that they actually had when they raised rates. They had that exact same experience. These people are going up there and they are tearfully talking about how this is killing them, how they're making choices between medicine and paying their utility bills, how they're making choices between food and paying their utility bills, why their houses are going to be taken from them because they can't afford to pay the power bill that's now more than their mortgage. It is the most infuriating thing I have been a part of, and to listen to not just city leaders, but people in our state legislature, like Alex Burton, prattle on about bullshit, about what they're, quote, doing to make this more affordable, when it absolutely does nothing. And the fact that they say that it does, either they have no idea what they're doing, which I suspect is the case, or they're intentionally obfuscating fact with fiction. It's nonsense, and it's the saddest thing I've ever seen. These people have forgotten that they actually represent the voters and the ratepayers and the taxpayers, and that the things that they're doing are killing them. And it made me very angry to hear the IURC say, well, we can't have a monopoly because we can't have too many telephone poles around. It would just be horrible. That is the dumbest thing I have ever heard in my life in regards to this particular ratepayer crisis that we have. It is incredible that they would get up there and say that with a straight face. And it's even more painful and incredible that not one politician that we've elected, ostensibly, to represent us challenged that nonsense. Not one challenge. I said, hey, wait. There's many states all around the country that operate in deregulated manner. We're not one of them, and they don't have telephone pole nightmares, utility pole nightmares. And why are you using that as the one example for this? And you just admitted that we now have, the first time that I have heard them actually admit that we have a regulated monopoly here, and they said it proudly. I was stunned to the point of silence, and that doesn't happen very often. It does not happen very often. I was so mad. And to listen to these poor people, these people on fixed incomes, these nurses, these people just struggling to figure it out.
Who sacrificed
They're doing everything right.
Evening. And what I hope is they're not, dissuaded from staying involved. Like you go there, you pour your heart out, you're passionate about what you're saying. Our friend Christopher Newman had a really good post last night. I think it was last night or this morning.
I think it was this morning.
He had
talking about
he's got like 320 likes, a bunch of comments, and he has a slightly different take. He's trying to be a little more like positive. A lot of people showed up. People were passionate.
What's good, a lot of people showed up, is at the budget meeting, there was nobody. There was probably 7 to 10 actual citizens at the budget meeting, and probably 30, well, maybe not 30, 20 to 25 government official.
Remind me to come back to the budget meeting.
Okay, sorry. Continue.
No. I mean, it's very pointed, but I'm afraid that a meeting like this where people are listened to, but nothing happens, and they don't really feel like it's doing anything. They're not really heard. They're listened to, but they're not heard. It's like listening to a spouse when you're arguing with them, and you're like, and all you're doing is waiting for you to say the next thing. You know?
Have you ever been in a car as a parent and your kids are prattling on about something that they absolutely think is the most critical thing?
My kids never prattle.
Yeah.
And you're just totally ignoring them? That's what we just saw.
Yeah.
That's exactly. It was performative in every single way. This was performative, and it hurt me because in reality, there's nothing the IURC can do. They got up there, they listened, which kudos to them for showing up, I guess. And they are gone now, and we're going to get a rating.
So what our local leadership is saying, what I hear a lot from the left versus right crowd is the divisive, well, we've got a Republican governor and the IURC is appointed by Republican governors. But
well, that's not true. That's a misnomer, because in reality, the IURC is appointed by whatever governor happens to sit in that seat, but it's required to be composed of X amount of Republicans, X amount of Democrats, whoever. You can only have X amount of each.
Okay. So it's not all Republicans.
No,
that
it
are
is absolutely not. Okay. So the fact that we keep hearing that regurgitated makes me so angry, and it's such a simple thing to prove as a fallacy. It is astonishing. But the left, in particular, because they're in the minority, loves to prattle on about this and harp on it. Oh, it's a Republican government. No, he has to appoint a certain amount of Democrats so that it's equally represented.
Well, I've noticed
almost
on a lot of our local quote-unquote leaders, who, and some of which, like Mary Allen, who are trying to get elected to a higher office than she is currently, she has a lot of attack minions, and some of them sound like bots. Like, their arguments are so dumb. But I still can't help myself. Like, I want to test them to see do you understand what you're saying is 100% false? And they never really come back with anything intelligent. It's just some veiled freaking comment that's talking about, like, well, it's a Republican issue. All they're trying to do is get people mad at Republicans and win votes.
That's it. That's all.
They're not trying to solve problem.
Well, they don't have, because they don't have a solution to the problem. That's the thing. We were talking off air earlier. We want to find positive things in these things, and in the IURC,
we don't want to be a bitch session here. Just like
100%.
Yeah.
There needs to be a solution for this, and the solution for this particular problem is competitive interests in our community. That is the solution. We need to be, and I mean from the mayor to the city council to the county council to the commissioners to every other surrounding community affected by the center point rates, we need to get together as a coalition and say, Indiana, government of Indiana, we're not asking, we're going to have a deregulated pilot here. What's it take to do that? Because we're starting the process. We're going to do it. We want a deregulated pilot in this area because we're going to test it. And that's what needs to happen. And there was appetite for that. There is appetite for that. People like Ed Soliday, people like Alex Burton, they won't like it because it gets rid of it proves the regulated monopoly model as defunct and completely lopsided in favor of both the monopolies themselves and the people that are propping them up inside the government. Those two things should be intolerable to us, but yet here we are being told, because we don't want crazy utility poles poking up out of the ground everywhere, we can't possibly have this.
Let's bury him then. No,
I would love to bury a line. I would love to see every line buried here. It'd be fantastic.
Anyway, sorry.
So what I think, I mean, we need a coalition of people, Republicans and Democrats, independents. I don't care what you call yourself, but we need to force all politicians who are doing these performative things to say here's our requirements of you to be elected in our area. It's a list of 5 things. It's a list of 10 things, whatever. Accountability and transparency obviously are the obvious thing. In order to get there, you have to have robust conversations, civil debate. You have to state your positions. You have to have people, Mary Allen or whoever the next mayor wants to be, whether it's Stephanie Terry or somebody else, you have to have them willing to say, I hear your idea, and I either agree or disagree, and here's why I agree or disagree. And then
we used to do that and get people on the record. And
when it's not even just about being on the record, it's just having an honest conversation about wanting to solve a problem.
See, that's
and you're solving a problem is not kicking the can down the curb to let's get a new governor and then the governor's going to fix it. That's not going to fix it either.
This is exactly the problem we have. We have forgotten what it is to be. We've forgotten what it is to expect our leaders to lead. We need, and I don't care who it is, I don't care. We need a leader to step up in our government, local government, and start forming this coalition across the entire southern part of the state and saying, we're done. We are done. You will not do this to us anymore. We're going to petition you. We will sue for this if we have to.
Well, no offense to you, but I don't want it to be a politician. I would rather it to be
Well, it has to be.
a group of politicians that come to a group like
It can't just
I don't
be
know.
one.
I don't care if it's United Divided. I would like for it to be a public-facing, public-controlled environment. Like, it shouldn't be a campaign promise necessarily.
There has to be, you have to have a civic leader leading this.
Oh, absolutely.
Otherwise, you will not
Absolutely.
have,
I agree with
you'll
that.
just get nothing but what we've been getting for this whole time.
I agree with that.
You have to have someone, a civic leader, saying, we are going to change this. I now have the entire consolidated Evansville government, the entire Vanderburgh County consolidated government, the entire Spencer, Warwick, whatever.
Well, I think we have a narrative problem, though, Joe, and this is where I think you and I.
Because I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican.
Yeah, that's what I
This is the
mean.
problem.
We have a slight different way to look at this thing. Like I've said for a long time, it shouldn't be right versus left because national level Democrats want this, and this, and this, and this, and national level Republicans want this, and this. I want to talk about a topic. Let's sit down and solve this damn problem, because all you're doing whenever you say, well, the Republican governor is saying this and this Democrat candidate is saying that, and so we got to go one way or another. No, we don't. We don't. We have to organize as people and come together around ideas to solve problems. And then we need to force whoever is elected to be accountable to those ideas. That's what I'm saying with these conversations that you're thankfully, thank you for sitting down and agreeing to have these. And I'm going to push back on you only because I want to know, I want people to know that, like, if a person that's not aligned with the Republican Party comes on, I'm going to challenge them in the things that I don't agree on. And if they win me over and they can come up and debate you, or Travis has a challenge and they can say, I've heard that challenge, I hear that, and here's my idea and here's my thoughts on that. That's what we have to have. We can't just say, well, we're going to elect Mary Allen, or we're going to elect a Republican governor, and they're going to fix things.
That's how they're trying to.
That's what they're trying to. They're trying to
pit us against each other
100%.
by institutionalizing these platforms of political party.
Yes.
Which is complete nonsense. It does not behoove us to play that game. I don't care if you are a Democrat or Republican. If you're doing the right things and you actually have solutions you're going to put out for the people and you're going to solve that problem, I'll be the first one to jump on your bandwagon and say, let's go, let's do it. I would be happy to do that. I told the mayor of Evansville that a year ago in her office. I will do this. I don't even need my name to be on any of it. I will help you. I will do whatever it takes to get this done. And it got zero traction. That is a problem.
Well, she wouldn't sit down and have a conversation with me from the very beginning.
Well, I don't want to pick on her necessarily, but what I'm saying is,
it's an unwillingness to step outside of your own political ideology or the people that are controlling your plan, and you're not honestly sitting down to expand the conversation and to actually try to fix the thing.
I sat down with.
It's not about her. I'm not saying it's about her.
No.
I don't disagree with you, but she happens to be in the leading position in the city of Evansville.
She should be doing much.
And so I'm just talking about.
And so should city council.
I'm just talking about the position. Well, city council is mostly Democrat, one Republican,
and so should the county commissioners. But I sat down with the highest power in the land. I sat down with the governor, and I sat down with the Secretary of Energy and Natural Resources. We talked about these issues. I firmly believe, and I have it straight from his mouth and her mouth, if they could, with sweeping executive action, make these changes, they would. The problem is, we have 3 separate but equal bodies of government in our state. And the legislative branch is built as both guardrail and emergency brake. He can't just do all the things that he wants to do. He's got a lot of desire to fix this problem. He's got a lot of people. I met with his entire cabinet and multiple people, lots of resources in Indianapolis at the State House twice. And we sat down and we were working really, really hard on this problem. But at the end of the day, you have to have the legislative body approve it. And you have to have them be the ones that put the bills together that actually get the laws done. You can't do it through executive action alone. So while we have a governor who's willing, very, very willing, and that's what he did with 1002, with Bill 1002. He wanted to take action, so he took the action that he could. I don't blame him for that. In fact, I commend him for that. The problem is, it actually doesn't do anything except increase red tape. And now people are going to be forced in a budget bill and they'll have to exit out manually, which is really irritating. And the mechanisms for how they're going to price and do rate increases now are much more convoluted, and it's actually very irritating. So you'll have a slightly more clear bill, and you'll be on levelized billing to increase affordability, which just means instead of 12 billing cycles, you're going to have 14, because there'll be 2 catch-ups a year. So you have 14 bills now instead of 12. Great.
That sounds horrible.
It's absolutely idiotic to think that makes anything more affordable whatsoever. It is wildly stupid, and I don't understand why people are clinging to this as an affordability metric.
People budget, the people who still budget. Some people just live paycheck to paycheck. It's not really a budget. You can't call it a budget. But most people have a monthly budget if you're budgeting, a weekly budget, a bi-weekly budget. Mm-hmm. How does making a 14, how does that fit into anyone's budget?
Because you're going to you'll never pay less. It's always going to be over more.
It's going to look less because it's spread out over more payments.
It's going to look less. Instead of $600 bills twice a year, you're going to have $250 bills every month plus a true up or two. It's the exact same thing. You're paying the exact same amount. You're just doing it over more time. It is absolute lunacy. It's a basic economic fallacy to think this makes it more affordable. It is ridiculous. So I could go on and on about that. It's actually very frustrating to me. But what we need to do is we need to get the root cause of this is very simple. We have monopolistic practices in play that are not only guarded and protected by the legislative body, they're enabled by the legislative body. And we need to start challenging the people that are the gatekeepers of that system. Those people are the people we have got to get in front of and say, enough, or you're gone. We can fire them. Every 4 years we can fire them. And
Too bad you can't do it quicker.
I do wish.
And so you're hitting on the exact point where I think we agree. I mean, we disagree slightly just in the way it's, I think, in the nuance of how it's said, but where I think we agree, you have to have an educated, energetic, knowledgeable group of people who know these are the target people that we have to, this is the way you have to vote. This is, if you don't vote this way, we have enough people around the state or in your sector that are going to vote you out until we get the right alignment of people that are going to change the law that we need to change it. People feel like that's way too much. Well, we can't do that. There's nothing that enough people can do. There's nothing that we together can't do.
We can actually do that. And I think when we have people who have been in office so long that they feel so protected, a politician should never feel secure in his seat. Ever. You're on a 4-year term, sometimes 2-year term. You can be ousted at any moment for doing anything that the people don't agree with. Somehow they've convinced us that that's not the case. And that actually is infuriating. We have the power to fire these people at will. And we need to remember that, and we need to exercise that power. People like Ed Soliday need to go immediately. He needs to go. And the reason is he's protecting his monopoly. The legislature next year, with the snap of a finger, could fix this problem. They could fix this problem. And yet, here we are. We have $300 to $500 million worth of cap stack we're paying on Centerpoint. Imagine if we brought in someone new that didn't have that. Our bills would plummet. Imagine if we brought in someone new that's actually hedging and managing price risk correctly, which means it would, instead of the bills looking like this, the cost for supply looking like this, it looked like this. It would take our costs per month and it would look like the reverse of a hockey stick. It would be amazing. And then Centerpoint would be forced to do something. We wouldn't be forced to pay 10% return on their equity, on everything that they do. Anything they put in, we have to pay 10% profit, guaranteed, on that. That is an outrageous return. That doesn't even count their return. That
None of us are guaranteed a 10% return on anything.
No, that's just the return on whatever they put in place materially. That's just as they do an improvement. That's 10% right there. That doesn't count the profit they're putting in on top of every kilowatt hour. That is not that. That's profit on profit. It's ridiculous.
So
they're a totally protected company, which is outrageous.
You said the term deregulated pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your term, or is that something that is out there in the sphere?
That is out in the sphere.
Okay, so can we talk a little bit more about what that means?
If we put a deregulated pilot in, what we would do is we would grab a tight geography, maybe 2 or 3 counties, and we would say we're going to open up the opportunity for a new energy provider to come in and either build facilities or broker power or any number of different things. There's any number of different ways it can happen. Ultimately, it brings in competitive interests and consumer choice into the market, and it forces Centerpoint to now become competitive. The end. The power lines. I mean,
well, before you say any more there, because this is a clip.
Because the power lines, by the way,
we will clip this. I just want to say, if there's any local, regional politician or expert that wants to say what you just said is
incorrect,
incorrect,
put them right here. Put them right.
Comment,
here.
please, on our Facebook page. Send me a message. Send Joe a message. If you can say, Joe, what you're saying is not accurate, I want to prove Joe wrong.
Yes.
Prove Joe wrong.
Please give me the 7 bullets.
Just let's go, and then there may be some things in there like, oh yeah, there's a nuance to that. How do we solve that? What I know about you, what I've learned is, first and foremost, you're passionate. You have to deal with the same things that we deal with in the costs and the lack of leadership in this area. But you take action, and I feel like that's what we're really lacking is a plan with an actual action that's happening that we can hold accountable at some point. Like there's nothing. They went to the listening session. Mm-hmm. They listened. Did they say we're going to come back to you in 2 weeks and we're going to listen, and then we're going to give you something in 2 weeks that makes you feel like, okay, now we're going to take this step.
What was so sad to me is listening to people's stories, and these people are amazing people. They are the backbone of our community, and they were pouring their heart out, and they were well prepared. They brought bills, they brought stories, they brought actual business cases for why they're being hammered and disadvantaged and taken advantage of. And the IURC can do absolutely nothing about any of it, which is one of the most frustrating things I've ever heard. And every politician up there knows it, or they should. And if they don't, that's on them. It's very clear with the IURC. Go to the IURC on the Indiana State website, and you can look at their exact charter. They have no ability to do anything. And this is all nonsense and performative, which makes me mad. But what we could do is if we took all that passion from all those people, which was an amazing thing, and I'm thankful for every single person that showed up and poured their heart out, because I commend them. That is a hard thing to do, to stand up and be that vulnerable, and to admit that they're struggling, and be literally begging in some cases for them to do something to help them, to make a difference, to help them in their daily lives. We could take these people and say, we're going to put together a coalition of not just government officials, but quite literally every single person that's being disadvantaged as a ratepayer, taxpayer in this area. And we're going to force the government to give us a deregulated pilot here. And then we go out and we bring in competition. That's how this works. And as far as that bullshit crap about the utility poles, you lease space on utility poles. They pay a tariff effectively on the utility poles that exist. That's how this is done. It is not hard to figure out. And the fact that they use that as the major roadblock and challenge to accomplishing deregulation, I mean, I literally couldn't even form words when I saw that. I could not form words when I heard them say those words. That was their big challenge. I can fix it right this instant. Tell me how much it costs per kilowatt to go across these lines. Done. Yeah. That's it. States all across the country.
Based on what I'm hearing, I'm assuming you didn't get up and speak.
No, I would have been too. I would have not. I would not have reacted well.
Yeah.
You have to. In moments like that, I had fully planned on doing that, but the level of sadness and desperation that these people had, I didn't want what I knew I would say in my anger and frustration to in any way overshadow or be that the headline that people say, oh, this person came up here and ripped into. I didn't want that to be the case. That's not ever going to be what I do in a situation like that. That is for them to share their struggle. And my fury over...
When you listened, so you heard it.
Oh, it was absolutely horrible.
I think whatever the IURC didn't hear and whatever local officials pretended to hear or they did hear, and they're just going to keep saying the same things.
Well, in some ways, they're just as hamstrung as the IURC.
No, I get it.
It's the level of it. What kills me is their refusal to do anything about it. We have a plan. You put together a coalition, get the public engaged, create momentum, demand deregulation. The end. Problem solved. In 2 years, we could have a deregulated pilot down here with competitive interests and consumer choice, and our rates plummet. I literally said this in front of the governor, in front of the Secretary of Energy, and they were both like, yeah, that makes total sense. This makes complete sense.
Okay.
That is how it works.
So, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I do mean to put you on the spot.
If you asked me if I were in leadership, if I would do that, that'd be the first thing I'd do.
So, I mean, I'm like, what can you and I and Travis do right now besides, we got a screensaver up. What can we do right now besides sit and talk about it? I mean, like...
It's hard to harness momentum in this way. It's very, very hard to harness momentum. That's why I said a minute ago, it has to be a government official that leads this charge. It has to be. And the reason it has to be a government official is because we have to have authority. We have to have a channel by which we gain access to high-level authority in the state.
Yeah, they won't give any random Joe the authority to do it.
No, we don't have any authority. We can gripe and complain and do all these things, but at the end of the day, there's no authority granted. We can go up and complain. It'll be another listening session. We have to have somebody that can actually sit on the floor at the State House and demand change. That's what we have to have. And we have to have, it starts with mayors, it starts with city councils, it starts with commissioners, it starts with county council, it starts with our congressmen and senators. It has to start there. And we've got one of those people with Jim, Senator Jim. We've got Vanita would probably be a part of this. She would be helpful. She was there last night. I think for sure Tim O'Brien, and I know Wendy McNamara would also be helpful. The issue is standing up to people like Ed Soliday, who actually has a ridiculous amount of power within the state legislature. And we, as voters, can fire him. And we should. We should go up there to his district and start working to get him out if he doesn't do what we want him to do. We should say there should be money pouring in from the... This is where I get mad about the Republican Party. Why aren't we primarying him? Why aren't we primarying this fool?
Well, I think that's you just touched a point I never thought about talking about with you up to this point. But
that's how
I don't think most people don't understand the importance of primarying, I almost chimed in and talked about we have such terrible education and teaching of how civics works and teaching people how to solve things. So there's a grassroots ground level that we should start teaching kids right now. Like, this is how you actually effectuate change. And I'm not talking about an emotional tirade, like social justice stuff. I'm talking about actually moving the needle in civil government, like actually making improvements. And
Chris showed the lack of people trying to run against. There were the lack of primaries, the lack of even anybody running against. It's just going to be an incumbent that wins because nobody else is trying to run.
Well, that's the thing. Like, we need to educate people on how important primaries are. Like, it is actually the most important part, and it's all ass backwards. And I'm going to point right back to you again because I'm here, knowing how the local political calendar has worked, and I'm questioning everything. Like, why are we waiting? Like, you see Mary Allen everywhere, and I understand she's running
You see
a
her
different
everywhere
race.
here.
And anyway, it doesn't. That's what we see. So we can't negate what our local viewers see, and she's everywhere.
Yep.
And she's not saying, I want to solve this problem. She's not saying, I'm willing to come on and talk about and have a civic debate.
It's because she has no idea how to do it.
Well,
And I don't blame her for that.
But this is the problem with our politics, Joe. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, the Republican Party is as guilty as the Democratic Party, and I'm sure there's a strategy behind not coming out and getting a message going now. Like, but the local party really has no core message right now that I can say, this is why I think the Republican Party is now doing a better job. They're communicating what they're doing. I mean, you're coming on, and you are a Republican representative, but like, you're not the party.
No,
you know what I mean?
So this is interesting. So
Is it another pour of bourbon interesting? I think it is.
Probably so. So the
Let's see how heavy a pour. Chris,
I'm gonna get it off the camera.
Oh, it's off camera. Yeah.
I'm not coughing right now, so that's good.
Yeah, we can't see it. We have no idea.
Yeah.
So
They can see it though. It's
that's
okay.
right.
nice. So the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, for that matter, they are there to work with candidates, find new candidates to fill holes. It is typically not something that they do, is find candidates to run against an incumbent. That's just not what they do. That is considered bad form. And I get that from a high level party perspective. At the end of the day, though, it is the job of the public, if they want to run against them. Say, let's use Ed Soliday as a perfect working example. He's a tool bag, and he is not doing the job of the protecting the people and representing people. He thinks he is, and that's fine. I don't take anything away from what he believes is his good intention. He's wrong. He is flat wrong. We need to replace him. It's time for him to go. Great. Wonderful. Why aren't we primarying him?
Nobody's primary.
No one's shown up to primary him.
Where's he located?
Oh, up north somewhere. I could look him up in about 10 seconds, and I have in the past. I try to not think about him because I don't like to hate people. But I think that he has just been there entirely too long. And at the time when this system was set up and he was involved in this and all this, maybe it made sense. I wasn't part of the system then. It doesn't make any sense now. It's time to evolve. It's time to change. I get really frustrated when people have sat there for so long that they become insulated and protected and out of touch with what all of us in this room are feeling. It makes me very, very mad. So it's time to primary him. There's been no one coming to the table to primary him that I know of, and that should change. There needs to be organizations. If we want to affect change, and this is something very, very important. You asked me a minute ago, what can people like us in this room do to affect change? We get the people out of office that are the problem. Now, that said, we have a high reticence. We have particularly in Indiana, we have an allegiance to party. We are very politically aligned. You're either Democrat or Republican. There's a lot of that nonsense going on. And
Also, I know a lot of people that say conservative.
Fair.
You don't have very many people calling themselves a liberal, but you do
You'd be
hear
surprised up in Indy, there's a lot of that. And
several of the people that donate to this podcast consider themselves conservatives and not
love
Republicans.
That. My favorite people are the people that say, you know what? I don't care what party you are from. These are the 5 things that are important to me. And if we align on 3 of them, I'm in.
Yeah.
And those people are very reasonable. That is actually the 80%. Most people want very reliable government. They want very reliable city services. And that's what they're looking for. We have 10% on either side that really get all the attention, and they shouldn't.
Yeah.
But
A lot of barking, not much
noise.
substance.
You don't get headlines from this. You have to be up and down and all over the place. So
About headlines real quick. I know we're going to eventually go probably over maybe some of the crime in Evansville, even though
Oh my gosh,
crime's
bad.
going down. But we just had an officer-involved shooting down on the south side.
I'm gonna say this non-politically correct, but prayers to the officer involved. And
that is, I don't give two shits about political correctness when it comes to officer safety. These people put their lines on.
Oh, absolutely. No. I back blue.
is that on Evansville Watch?
100% of the way. 14 News shows Spring Court and Suites through. There was an officer-involved shooting. There's also a heavy police presence down on South Weinbach and Cover. There's actually a lot going on right at this very moment. But apparently crime's going down. So according to...
Crime is not going down, actually.
Let's come back to that.
Yeah, I'm
please.
sorry. Crime eventually.
No, I want you to, when there's breaking news, that's actually, I love that. But let's kind of put a pinpoint on where we are, because I really do, every time we have this conversation, I feel like we move a little bit more down the road, and
we need, if you're looking for how do the public, how do us as non-elected officials or non-elected people, citizens, make change? We get together and we figure out how to get the people that are blocking us from moving forward out of the way. And we have such a blind allegiance in a lot of ways to Republican or Democrat or whatever. We're so scared of the opposing party. When I campaigned for city council, I'd knock on doors, and occasionally, not all the time, but about 10% of the time, I'd knock on the door. Hey, I'm Joe Kratochvil. I'm running for city council in the 3rd Ward. I would get through the ring camera, are you a Republican or Democrat?
Yeah.
And I would say, well, I'm on the Republican ticket. Go away.
Yeah, goodbye.
I never got that on the Republican side. They never ever said that.
Yeah.
Very rare, about 10% of the time. But we have that blind allegiance sometimes. And I'm sure they got it on the Republican side too. I'm sure they
down
did.
the ticket, just whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I think
whatever has
the
R
most
next
prime,
to it.
finish your example, but I've got an example to go against what you're just saying.
But what I want to see is incumbents being challenged when they're not doing the right thing. It's okay to be, I adhere to the Republican platform of conservative values and conservative financial positions and fiscal responsibility, all those things. I am fine with that, and I appreciate that. But at the end of the day, you can have two people vying for the same position in a primary, and one says, by the way, I am not going to allow Centerpoint to abuse us anymore, and I'm going to fight every single day for a deregulated pilot in Southern Indiana. Guess who I'm voting for immediately?
Right, 100%.
Everyone will vote for that
100%.
person immediately. But it's the job of citizens to stand up and say, I'll take the risk. And it fucking sucks, excuse my language, to be a political person. Our mayor, it's hard.
Yes.
I feel bad for her in a lot of ways, because she can't win in a lot of ways. And people like me, I'm sitting in the...
Well, she did win. She won.
She won. But I mean, she can't win on some of these issues. So, I mean, you're challenged, but I feel like we could do better. So...
Well, here's the way you win.
I never want to make it personal.
You only win, you can win if you listen, you engage, you say,
changes.
Here's why I disagree, and let's agree to disagree, but talk about it next. Like, let's learn a little bit more about what we're talking about and come back and talk about it again. So why I am very critical of her, and I'll just say, she can win. She can have more conversations with people. She could have agreed to have the first conversation with me, and I was, I guess, a nobody at the time, but I had started a podcast. And
don't worry, Chad, you're still a nobody.
Well, that's fine. I don't want to be. I don't want to be a somebody. I just want shit to be ran better. I want.
And that's a very fair statement. And I agree with you 100%. I think there is a responsibility for transparency. Yeah. That's where my biggest gripe is. We don't have transparency. We have wrong priorities, and our budget's exploding for no good reason whatsoever. And I think that's wrong. But that aligns with my view as a political conservative. I don't believe in what she's doing. And that's fine. She has people like me sitting there hitting her all the time, and I'm sure that's stressful. When I run for office and when I'm in a leadership position, I will also have people on the other side constantly hitting me. I know this. I'm ready for this. I'm fine with this.
Well, you're inviting it.
I'm inviting this. In fact, I love to be challenged. So please, by all means.
All right, I'm going to challenge you.
You brought it up.
You said a couple things. Well, you come right back, but you said a couple things, and I'll just say, the Maha movement inside of.
Have you noticed, by the way, how quiet everyone's gotten about that?
Yeah, and there's a good reason, and you're leading up to my point. So, the Maha movement converted more Democrats and independents to vote for Trump than probably any. And that didn't mean those people loved Donald Trump. Didn't mean that there was a bunch of things going on. I mean, the candidate on the left was just atrocious, and I don't see really any change in that. We got, Gavin Newsom at the federal level, who has probably the most corrupt.
Shapiro could be good.
Shapiro could be good, but for whatever reason, the left will not take him serious. And there's probably a lot of reasons for that I don't really care. They got to work that shit out on their own.
Yeah, that's their deal.
That's not my business. But Maha is a prime example of pulling people from all parties, and this is where I think the energy thing, especially in the state of Indiana, is a Maha type of thing. I have Make Evansville Healthy Again because there's things that I want to talk about in that realm, but there absolutely is a way to coalesce a party within a party that's not red versus blue. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with what energy. Affordability is the most important thing right now that's going on.
We call that a movement.
Is there an airplane landing on my street? Holy moly.
Yeah, just about. But we call that a movement.
Someone had their air
Never seen that one before.
It's 100% independent of political polarization. It is something that's so common to all of us that it doesn't matter where you fall on the spectrum. It matters to everyone. And in that room last night, there were people from all across the political spectrum in there telling their stories.
Didn't matter what they affiliated with.
It didn't matter one bit. And I applaud every single one of them. I'm thankful for them. I'm thankful. And I think they were amazing. I also think that you are hitting on something very important. The individual choice in the ballot box makes a huge, huge difference, especially at the state and local level. We can make changes. And your desire to bring candidates, whether they're incumbents or challengers, to the table and get them on the record to create commitments that they're forced to live up to.
I don't want to bring them. I want to force them.
That's right. Well,
I want us as a community.
So you try.
As a community, we can say, if you don't come on the record, you will not win my vote because you're just giving me talking points. You're not giving me solutions. Maha. Well, here's what. I think this is an important nuance. Maha said, "Our food is poisonous." Mm-hmm. We are really concerned, and I have a real problem with how some part of Maha, not all Maha has been great for me, but there are things that are winning. And the reason, like you said, is like, why are you not hearing anything about Maha?
Because it's winning.
Because it's winning. Because
there's no headlines on good news.
We have a Snap thing that just came out that I just posted on. That they're showing all the fraud, all the stuff that's going towards sugar that makes people fat and unhealthy and sick and puts them in the hospital.
Which funds the pharma community.
Which farms, I mean, it's just it's a big circle. And I'm not saying you can't go out and buy whatever you want to buy and eat. I had a person come onto Facebook and say, well, we should get on these corporations and make it to where they can't make those things. You can't, like...
First of all, you can't take away choice.
I don't want somebody to not be able to buy a Snickers bar. I just don't want to pay for it.
So here's the deal with this.
Right? Does that like go make your own money and eat your Snickers bar?
Be responsible for yourself.
Yes.
Self-responsibility. And that would be wonderful, except our society doesn't like that. They don't like to pay for their own mistakes, which consequences to every action, they want them neutered. Well, at some point that's not going to happen. And we're currently have an administration that actually wants you to be responsible for yourself, which is kind of refreshing. And people don't like it because it feels rude. You're taking something away. The hardest thing as an employer to do is to take a benefit away. Mm-hmm. A perfect example of that is when you go into an organization. I used to buy and sell companies. That's what I used to do. So I would go in and we'd be restructuring a company. And these hourly employees would oftentimes be used to getting 10, 15 hours of overtime every single paycheck. Well, we just bring in enough people to appropriately staff and streamline operations so no one got overtime. Well, you're taking away my overtime.
And they built that into their budget.
Built that into their budget.
So, yeah.
And they got a significant decreased check. Well, this is what you were promised. Overtime is overtime. We don't want overtime. It costs us an enormous amount of money. And it puts you in a potentially compromised state. There's X amount of hours you're supposed to work, and we were going over that. We're sorry. They didn't like it. And a lot of times people would threaten to leave. Ultimately, they never, or they...
But it's always like 20%. I mean, you got people that are going to complain about it.
Yeah. And they do. And they always do. But...
either side, you're going to complain.
My larger point is, they don't like to be responsible for their own actions. They don't enjoy it. The thing with the MAHA movement is we're starting to see the narratives exposed. Don't you remember during COVID when everyone was told to stay inside and be fat and lazy, don't go outside, don't go do all this
Don't
stuff.
get in the sunlight.
Don't get inside, don't do all these things. Well,
Don't breathe fresh air.
that's when you saw...
Share your disease with someone else.
Yeah, right. You'd be trapped in a house where no circulation happens, no fresh air. But remember what you heard in the media and what you heard in all of the branding and all of the social media everywhere. Body positivity, body positivity, body positivity. Because we're going to be fat and nasty. We're going to drink a bunch. We're going to day drink. We've got nothing else to do. The only things that were open were liquor stores because they were essential.
I don't... Wait. I don't have a problem with day drinking.
It's not day drinking. It's 6:30, Travis.
There's no attack here.
There's
no attack.
It's an hour before my bedtime. This is not day drinking day.
But now my point is, do you hear any of that anymore now with Ozempic?
Everybody's on that kind of...
Everybody's on now. Because now it is returning cycling back to, we've got a product we can now monetize to get you thin now. Mm-hmm. Because that's what you really want to be. You forget this body positivity stuff. Now we're back to this is what you want to look like. Because now we've got a pill we can sell you, or a shot we can sell you, or whatever it is we can sell you. And you got to question, it's not change your eating habits, by the way. Change your eating habits. Develop a self-discipline routine. No. We've got a pill for you. By the way, that pill has some side effects we'll manage for you. With more pharmacology involved, with more doctor visits, with more of this, more of that, more of this. That's
at $1,000 a month.
Oh, that's what's astonishing to me. And these people are buying it hook, line, and sinker because now it's easy to be thin. All you have to do is take a shot or take a pill. It has nothing to do with people being responsible. Stop eating the crap that you eat that's making you fat and feel awful. No. I'm going to give you a shot.
Don't shame me on my burger.
Or enjoy the food that you eat and just be fat.
I mean, same.
Just saying.
There were countries in Europe that believed that for a long time.
Well, Italians, man, were all about
being overweight was a sign of wealth.
Absolutely, it's been that way for a very, very long time.
Being overweight, you could afford to not be working your butt off and eat as much as you wanted.
Rich man.
I mean, that was a sign of opulence and wealth.
It is a complete rabbit hole, and I don't expect a response out of either one of you, but like the guy that I always come back to, and he says some divisive things. He says some things that Travis doesn't agree with. He says some things that Dr. Roy doesn't agree with, and a lot of my listeners, is Dr. Jack Cruz. He's like, sugar in what you eat is important. It absolutely is important. But light, water, and magnetism is the key. And the reason why I'm wearing these glasses is our circadian rhythm and our metabolism and our mitochondria are destroyed by our light environment. I absolutely 100% have no doubt that that's true. And
I don't have the medical expertise to weigh in one way or the other.
Well, all you need is so I told you I wasn't 100% thrilled with Maha. Maha has started ignoring the COVID experience that we've had. They're not really fully hitting that head on and addressing. They're not talking about the vaccine stuff nearly as much. So I think they're giving and taking. They're playing politics. They can't get everything that they want, so they're getting what they can get. And I think that's just politics. But one of the things that Dr. Jack Cruz he had an early ear with the Maha movement and with RFK, and he pushed a lot of people in RFK's corner, along with a lot of other people who were influenced, pushed him in their corner, because he said, Obama's LED light push and the whole green energy thing basically put lights in our environment that are negative to our mitochondria. We all are in front of screens 24/7, which is non-native light that our bodies have not ever dealt with in the entire evolution of humanity, right? When you put people into a completely non-native environment, there's a period of adjustment that happens, and there's rewards, and there's not rewards. There's things that you have to pay. Your body is not going to be as healthy as it was if you're not drinking healthy water and you're not eating healthy food, and if you're not getting getting vitamin D, which every person on the planet forever has gotten vitamin D, and we were told that the sun is bad. and you have to avoid it, and you have to put sunscreen on, you have to put sunglasses on. You have to,
I
mean, it's just so much crap. No, I mean, it's a rabbit hole. It's a rabbit hole.
But I'm always, when I see people slathering on sunscreen, I'm thinking about all the poisons that is on you, and it's absorbing into your skin. I've always been flabbergasted by that. And I don't mean to go out and bake yourself to a crisp in the sun.
No.
But at the end of the day, what's worse? Is it the prescription or is it the result? I don't know those answers. I'm not a medical.
No, I mean, that's why we had Dr. Roy and we've done so many podcasts with him.
I think that is fantastic. I am always.
But it's important for Evansville. The reason why I'm bringing it up now is because even this debate, people can disagree with what I just said. We can have a nuanced conversation. And I want to continue that because I think a part of Evansville, like, I really do believe we have lost a sense of meaning with the community, and what the Maha movement, forget Trump, what the Maha movement did for people is it made everything that we've been told about what to eat and body doesn't matter and just live your best life. I mean, there is so much truth in that, but politically they use it as a ping pong ball, and the pharmaceutical companies and the medical establishments, institutions are the ones that we're getting money out of it.
Look at the sugar industry. Look at the food.
Yeah.
I mean, all this stuff.
All of it.
That is a hard nut for me to crack because I don't know enough about it. But what I would do is I would pull in experts that do and say, advise me. I don't know this. I'm really good in the energy industry. I'm very good in that. I'm very good in the financial space. Because those two things are the things.
Well, I'm not asking you as a leader to say this is what you would do. I'm just saying
this is a really good point, because I think, and it bears speaking to. It's a subject matter I don't know a lot about, but as a leader, as leaders that we elect, you want that person to be humble enough to say, "Hey, educate me. Tell me what we need to know," and we're not getting that from our leaders. I think that's a really, really interesting point that I hadn't thought of in the past. Is how do you address what you don't know? Because there's obviously lots of things I don't know. That would be exactly how I would do it. I think our leaders today need to admit, hey, I don't know what I don't know. And this is the problem with state government too. These guys are going up and they're legislating across a very wide lived experience. They have to create laws to encompass every single thing we do. And as a result, we expect them to know everything. Well, they can't possibly. No matter how smart you are, you can't possibly know everything. So they should be gathering really good experts in any particular field that they're looking at and putting together legislation that makes sense. They're not doing that right now with energy. They're not doing that at all. They're letting these people who control the monopolies, who leverage legislators to enable the monopolies, control everything. And that's unfortunate. And it's all a result of these people like Ed Soliday, who have enormous amounts of power in the state legislature, telling them, no, we're not doing it. You can't put a bill to his committee without his approval. He just says no. And that's why nothing changes. The end.
Well,
fire him. Fire him, Indiana. Fire him.
Before we just slide off of Make Evansville Healthy Again, I want to finish finish this little segment and we can move on. I know we want to come back to several other things that have gone on in the last few weeks. I really feel personally that Evansville doesn't really have the E is for everyone thing. I know what they were trying to do with that. As a marketing person, I understand the concept behind it. It just didn't have any grip. It didn't have any real meat on the bone to me.
There's nothing there. There's no DNA.
There's no there. So that's what I'm trying to get at. So it's like for a very long time, Evansville has been known as like poor air quality. We've talked about cancer rates here versus or whatever for a very long time. Yeah. And
still doing nothing about it.
This is why I'm bringing it up, because I feel like if you as somebody that says they're going to run for something in the future, a leader of the community, we need to reinvent kind of who we are a little bit. Like, what are we trying to do? And there's a concept out there that our regular listeners who listen to Dr. Roy, whatever, I want to throw this thing out there. So there's a guy named Joe Saladin. He is a regenerative farmer. And most people in Evansville that are in their little micro bubbles don't realize that we were a farming community. We've been a farming community for hundreds. I mean, for as long as we've been a community, we've been a farming community.
We are surrounded by agriculture.
And then we turned into a big ag. I mean, everything is conglomerated into bigger and bigger and bigger farms, and it's all stuff that basically gets shipped out of Evansville. And here's a challenge that I think the Joe Saladins of the world will bring. And I'm just putting this in your Rolodex to think of. He did a podcast. He's did several podcasts here recently. He just did one with Glenn Beck, and he talks about a food emancipation proclamation. And it aligns with Maha in a sense that it brings back micro farming and small farming. So
we used to call them victory gardens in World War II.
Yes. So each individual household can actually, if you're properly trained, can create a pretty significant amount of healthy food that is grown in your backyard. And it's a whole movement away from that we started relying on corporate food that comes in boxes and whatever. You don't need to worry about planting your garden.
It's convenient.
It's easy.
That's how where fast food came from.
Go work at the factory. Go to the grocery store. We'll have some lovely food there on the shelf for you. And here's the only thing I'm planting a seed. Like I really feel like we need a more robust vision with what we're trying to do with our communities. And I think we have a tremendous amount of agriculture around us. Most of it is industrial agriculture, and I love farmers. They're some of the greatest people on the planet.
They're amazing.
I just so happen to be talking to a lot of small farmers now that are trying to bring back organic.
The farm to table movement here is amazing.
So we need to stack on that, is what I'm saying. I think that's something that we are not really talking about enough.
No, we don't. And we talk about food deserts, and we talk about all this.
We don't have that problem. We could solve that real fast.
We love these buzzwords like food deserts and food insecurity and all this. But at the end of the day, we waste so much food in Evansville, Indiana. It's astonishing. It is absolutely astonishing. And if we didn't do that, it would be we would eliminate.
There would be no hungry
overnight.
people.
Yeah, we would eliminate overnight. There are some people doing some good work in that space.
I'd love to talk to them.
I would be happy to put you in connection with those people. I have one person in particular. She's really, really passionate. She's been passionate about this for a long, long time. Okay. I will give you her name and number.
Okay.
I think she would love to be on this podcast and talk about what she's doing.
But next time you see her, please have her introduce herself.
I will be texting her this week for you.
Okay.
But it'll be really, really good to.
We can skip off of it. I just wanted to say that I feel like it's important.
To your point, I do believe it's important. I do think we need to create, because that's a solution to a problem we have. I think in World War II, when we didn't have enough food in cities, they created victory gardens. That's where that term came from. Victory in World War II. They would create gardens enough to sustain yourself. My dad, his family outside of Springfield, Illinois, they were in the middle of a very agrarian area. I don't remember a time in my life when my dad has not had a garden. We were very, very, very poor when we came to Evansville. He still had a huge garden. Every single year we'd be out there putting the strings down, planting the seeds, and I would watch. I had the privilege at the time, all through my life, of watching seeds come up out of the ground, grow all season long, and produce food for us that my mother would then can. Mm-hmm. And so we'd have food all through the winter.
What an awesome experience, man.
It was awesome. It was amazing watching her put these mason jars full of tomatoes and beans and all this produce in the pressure cooker so we would be able to eat food that we grew through the summer. And I would be out there weeding, hating every minute of it, every single minute of it.
Yeah.
But there we were doing it. And to this day, he has a beautiful piece of property on the west side in a massive, massive garden. This is for as long as he was at Barry, he had a garden. The CFO of a multi-billion-dollar global organization had a huge garden because that's what he wanted to feed his family was organic food that he made, that he grew. To this day, right now, he has an amazing, beautiful garden that he will plant. He'll work his butt off all year long. He'll just deliver produce to all of us. and it's amazing.
Yeah,
I mean,
my dad, spring to summer, he always has things that he brings over. Tomatoes.
it's insane.
Asparagus. Asparagus is one of his things. It's we get so tired of asparagus by the end of the summer.
Dad and Mom will have this amazing garden, and they'll just prepare little baskets of stuff for us to take. Here's bags full of produce. I mean, it's a real gift, and it tastes so different than what you get in the store. It's incredibly.
So we're talking about health, but we're also talking about affordability, Joe. And this is where
But if you did this, it would change the dynamic.
It's a crossover. Here's one thing. So like, we can be talking about multiple subjects at the same time, and it's not really a rabbit hole because we are talking about affordability. We're talking about food. You said food deserts. We don't have a food desert in the city of Evansville, and the only reason we do is because we don't organize and do it the way we should be doing it. Like, everybody can have a garden on the smallest piece of property, and you could share tomatoes with your neighbor, and you can have one person that focuses on, we're going to grow potatoes or sweet potatoes or whatever, and you're never, ever, ever, ever not going to have food. I don't care the smallest piece of property.
Yeah.
You're just never going to be without it. Now, having need is a little bit more challenging. You're living in the city, you can't really have chickens, but where you can have chickens, eggs they're like,
I can tell you,
duck eggs,
I live
all these different
on
things.
the east side of Owensboro, and there are people in the east side of Owensboro with chickens all over the place.
Yeah, my neighbor's got chickens.
So I'm just saying, like, these are the conversations to me that if we're revisiting Evansville, is we need to be more independent, but more inclusive to our neighbors and more working with our neighbors. We need to truly be bringing people together.
They used to call it co-oping.
Yeah, I mean, farm co-ops are it's something that's always happened, but it's like, I think individually, like, the city of Evansville really hasn't tapped into the Maha movement.
Maha movement is very polarizing because it's associated with Trump, and people
people
don't like Trump.
I'm over that.
I 100% don't care. 100%. I don't worship.
I can badmouth Trump with the best of them. That's fine.
Oh yeah, I don't worship at the
want good
altar
food.
of anybody. I want what's best for the community, and I promise you, Victory Gardens, and self-reliance is best for everyone. If you
get elected to some position, we're gonna have more conversations about this, because
if I get elected,
the right people.
Here's what's going to happen. There will be an initiative, a citywide initiative. We're going to show you how to do it. We're going to help you do it, and then we're going to all get together and share what we've grown, and we're going to help the community in which we exist.
Okay.
That is the goal.
We can move past it then.
That literally is the goal. Can you imagine?
This is the accountability.
Please.
All right, I'm done.
I promise you, please challenge me on this in 3 years.
Perfect.
We used to have, is there still a farmer's market downtown? Does that still happen?
Yeah.
It hasn't been as advertised.
But not like
Not like it used to? Okay.
Yeah.
I think COVID messed up a lot of stuff.
Oh, dude, COVID messed up
But
everything.
a lot of regulation stuff, a lot of government intrusion and overreach. That's a whole nother rabbit hole we can go into, but we're not going to.
We don't have enough time tonight.
We're not going to do that today. I don't know if you were good with where you are. We could hit on
anything.
The
budget
officer
meeting,
involved
or-
shooting,
the officer involved
or the budget,
Whatever
or the
you guys
budget
want to
meeting.
talk about. I love.
Did you participate, or are you aware of the budget meeting?
I'm very aware. I had some prior obligations that kept me from that. I would have loved to have been.
You want to give us?
Do you want to know
Travis,
what blew my mind?
Give us your.
Were you
Travis,
there?
Yeah.
I was there, yeah.
Give us your.
Chris
give
and I
us
were
your
both there.
Yeah.
And the one thing, there were a lot of things that kind of blew my mind, and there was a lot to it. But just out of curiosity, Joe probably knows.
I did hear there was a temper tantrum.
There was. Yeah, there was. Joe may know the answer to this question, so this is going to pretty much be to Chad. How much debt do you think the city's in? Like, if every debtor,
It starts with a B.
creditor. No, it actually does. Well, according to the controller, it does.
Just
According to
under a
Robert,
B. It's just under a B.
Well, see,
Well, you just answered the question.
yeah, you just answered the question. Like, come on, man. Okay, well,
But
there you go.
I think-
What would you have thought?
I think I was in the 600 million to 750 million area.
That's kiddie play.
So that question was asked while we were there, and the controller Robert, who was a really nice guy, by the way. I hadn't really met him, talked to him. He took some time to talk to me.
When you say controller, he's like the
comptroller.
Evansville
Comptroller.
CPA. He's an Evansville CPA.
He's pretty much the Evansville
He's the Evansville CFO.
accountant.
Yeah, he's the CFO of the city, basically.
But anyway, somebody asked him what the total debt was, and he hem-hawed a little bit, like he danced around a little bit. And then finally, he was just like $950 million is where we're at.
Round number.
Whoa. Yeah, I get that. It's I mean, it doesn't sound
Just
bad
under
as a billion.
Just under the big bad number.
Yeah, right.
Just hang out under $1 billion.
Evansville, we have.
He didn't want to say the
we are $1 billion.
We have 115,000 people inside city limits, and we're $1 billion in debt.
Have you done that math?
Yes.
That's not even the annual budget of like 536.
Yeah,
million.
536. That budget is so outside the scope of what cities around us that are much better positioned than us are in, and we need to start asking the question why. Why the hell are we content with this? Why the hell do we allow it?
But I will be the first one to say that was given to our current administration. Like, she didn't just build up $1 billion.
No, but she's adding to it.
Oh yeah, adding to it. Absolutely, I'll agree with that.
And we got so used to spending COVID money. We're now drunk with it.
Well, and I think all cities are really guilty of that.
Oh, no question. I don't blame.
Creating a program and then wondering
for that.
This money will never dry up.
Oh yes, it will. It dried up right the hell.
It just dried right up.
You put a fiscally conservative president in office, and
yeah. So in the filling the holes conversation, it's like you have this budget that's here's the budget, and even before COVID, Evansville was not keeping control of its budget.
No,
let's not pretend.
No,
it wasn't. Then you get this influx of money,
and we kicked the can down on the sewer water project
rather than fixing all the roads, rather than spending the money on actual projects that at the end of, when you know the money dries up, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We've got a much better road system. Like, this is where I think, Joe, it feels like we are collapsing at some level financially, and there has to be a plan, some kind of a plan, or at least a conversation. Not putting you on the spot. This is not me saying what would you do as a plan to bring more revenue, but like, we have to have the conversation. We have to bring a lot of smart people into a room and say $950 million a year on 150,000. I mean,
no, 950 million is what our current outstanding debt is. Our annual budget is 536.
That's where I got the 536 million.
Yeah,
that's what I was on.
It's over $500 million a year for 115,000 people, which is outrageous.
How is the city of Evansville generating $536 million?
Well, we're not. We're going backwards. We have that's why when
this is the conversation.
We're pulling money from reserves.
Yeah.
And
we don't want reserves.
COVID money. We have COVID money.
So we still do have some COVID money.
We're apparently issuing bonds.
And we're acquiring more debt. That's how we're doing it.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. We're just piling debt on top of debt. We're a bankrupt city, and we don't.
So as a business owner, I'm not going to compile debt unless there is a path to revenue.
You would never.
No, I wouldn't get a loan from anybody.
You would never be allowed to do this.
Okay.
But what we're doing is we're issuing our own debt, and that's a problem. So the path out of this is austerity. We have to start tightening the belt, start cutting costs. That's literally the only way out. There is no other path forward but that. We start with cutting costs.
Look at every program. Everything that we spend money on.
How do we get better at it?
Put it on the whiteboard. Show me everything.
How do we get better at it if we do? How do we make this better for the ratepayer? I got told the other day, and this was astonishing to me. I was talking to a good friend of mine who's in the city. I won't speak about this person by name because they're a great person and they'd be punished. But they literally looked at me and said,
"You know Joe? No, you can't do that.
You said this? What?" They literally looked at me. I was questioning about some things that were going on. I said, "Why are we doing this? And if we don't spend the money, someone else will." I said, "What? Give it back to the taxpayer." Like, we can't do that. Then we wouldn't have the money. I'm like, give it back.
Well, first we have to pay our debt, then we give it back.
Oh no, we don't get to. No, these are designated funds. You can't pay debt with it. No.
Gotcha.
You could just acquire more debt.
So, ladies and gentlemen, part of the accountability and transparency that the new local United Divided podcast, I don't even know what the local United Divided podcast will be called, but it will be focused on.
I would propose a name
transparent. Here's all the numbers. Here's where everything is going. Here's the money that's coming in, and here's we have to.
You can't get that right now.
I know we can't.
We even asked Robert.
So we have to demand it.
You can't get contracts. You can't get how it's spent. You can't get actual sources and uses. I would propose a name is we're pissed off you're spending our money. Where's it going?
Yeah.
The name, right there.
Not paying you, not giving you taxes anymore.
Yeah, that's the name.
Tax bill.
I don't know. Well, and so during that, well, first off, John is watching right now, and he said. I'm assuming we're in debt, or I'm not sure when he chimed in here, but he says because we spend funds on Forward Together programs. I'm I'm not entirely sure what Forward Together programs
It sounds marketing. Ask him what is Forward Together. What does that mean?
Yeah, it's very
John,
marketing.
if you're still watching, if you could chime in and say, what's a Forward Together program, we would really
Well, I mean, I
appreciate
think it's the warm and fuzzy conversations that we're uniting against Trump, and we're like, it's not an anti-Trump thing.
I think it's one of the mayor's initiatives, things like blight removal and all these things. That's what I'm assuming he's talking about.
Possibly. I don't know. Hopefully he'll chime in and let me know.
I don't know if that's what.
I would love to have a long conversation with what blight removal is going to actually bring to the city of Evansville.
So my issue with blight removal is that it feels very land grabby to me. It feels like we're getting rid. So the problem with this is the city is doing a really good job of getting rid of housing and putting up multi-tenant crap.
Yeah.
You just said that. I'm sorry. You just made me laugh inside. I'm like, they're doing a really good job of getting rid of housing. I'm like,
well, individual housing and putting
Yeah,
multi-tenant
instead of a house,
housing.
now you get an apartment in the city. Now you can pay the city.
that people can't afford.
Quadplex or something.
It's just crazy. And I'm in real estate. We were watching houses get torn down across the city. Not that they're great houses, but we could require houses to be built in their place.
Right. Or
And we're
rehab.
not. So we don't want to do that.
I'm going to be very unpopular.
We're having Advantix come
I'm going to be
through
very
and build
unpopular
multi-tenant crap.
because before I leave this planet, it will be a very transparent pathway to how we can remove a house and think that that's improving the ability
You
for
can't.
So look, and help me make this argument. A blighted house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is the foundation falling apart and everything is completely unfixable?
Could be.
I mean, there could be those situations.
Yeah.
Or it could be we as a community could spend $20,000 or $30,000 on this house, and it could turn into a house that's a $50,000 house. And I understand that's a slippery slope. I want to have the conversation.
It's very slippery slope.
Where I feel like the problem is, though, is everything that we do as a local government or whatever it's a private public partnership. There's money going this way, and then there's this thing that nobody understands how it works, and it's confusing for me. It's not transparent. Like, if it's such a great idea, everybody should know exactly how it happens. There should be some explanation as to how the government local government grabbing property and turning it into a facility where people, we create apartments or whatever it is. I want to know the answer to that. Like, I don't know anyone that understands how it works. I know a lot of smart people. Why shouldn't we know about it?
I don't think anyone's asked the right questions.
I don't know the right questions even. I just know I'm confused. Right? I mean,
I know I sit on a land bank, so we get a lot of visibility into what's going on. One of the problems I have is when we remove housing, actual houses, and this is a misnomer, and I hate the language that we allow to be used by our political leadership when they say housing, affordable housing. I don't want multi-tenant things created that take away people's ability to build legacy wealth. A home
There's a lot of
is the
studies out there.
foundation of legacy wealth. And it doesn't matter who you are, what color you are, where you are. That is the start of generational wealth. Period. That is the end. Mm-hmm. It starts there.
There are also a lot of studies that students in single-family housing versus multi-tenant housing, like you're talking about, do seem to thrive more, do seem to
Well, you want to
have
talk about
more pride.
We have an officer-involved shooting right now. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but it is a 10x jump in crime in multi-tenant urban environments.
Oh, yeah.
10x.
Oh, absolutely.
That is a statistic that cannot be refuted. It is inevitable. Ask any police officer, do 10 seconds worth of research on national crime statistics. That is a fact. When you have a home or you have ownership, this is why I love Habitat. Jerry Reardon and I sat down. He's the COO of Habitat. We sat down, and he's on a different side of the political spectrum than I am. But we agree 100% and wholeheartedly that this is the foundation of generational wealth building. Mm-hmm. And there's no greater gift that you can give to a family than a home. These people work their butts off to get into these houses, and it's amazing to watch what happens when they do.
I agree with that. Yeah.
When we put, first of all, the government, if there's a way to do it wrong, stupidly and inefficiently, and spend the most money possible, taking the longest amount of time possible,
Welcome to government efficiency.
The government will find the way.
Happy Easter. We didn't get to say Happy Easter.
Please stop letting the government develop anything.
Wow.
So, that being said, that little disclaimer, which I always like to say, the government sucks. Stop letting them develop anything on our behalf. When we take away houses and we put apartment complexes or multi-tenant units up, that creates less opportunity for the individuals and for families.
100%.
Period.
Mm-hmm. It's great for people that can create a space for people to live. There can be some affordable housing, but there is no generational wealth there. It can be affordable.
It's a trap. And,
You're 100% right.
There are reasons why you may want to have a condo. You may want to have an apartment.
You're downsizing. You're getting older. You don't want to take care of your property.
I mean,
you don't,
duplex or something maybe.
There have been many times when I thought about, you know what, I want a condo. I want to stop mowing the yard. I've got a lot of stuff going on. I don't want to
have a barndominium in the county.
Spectacular.
Yeah.
Let's just make like a ranch. Like you have a house.
That's a different podcast.
That's a totally different situation.
Podcast, but
your commune idea.
Let's all have our own.
Yes.
Have like a
you and I need to have that podcast.
A big farm in the center. You know,
absolutely, yeah. Underground tunnels connect them.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
we're talking about a totally different situation. When everything breaks down,
I went off on a weird tangent. Yeah, exactly.
Give me that bourbon back.
I've got the ammunition. Here you go.
Everyone's got their group of 5 people or so they bring into their compound.
Yeah.
I think that you guys have this mapped out pretty well.
That's right.
We have a compound.
But at the end of the day, we need to get back to remembering what makes families succeed. Where is my greatest goal in leadership in government when I get to that place is going to be, how do I create opportunity? Period. That is the basis, the core basis of every single solitary thing that I will do. How do we create opportunity? And opportunity starts, one, for families with a house. Mm-hmm. That's how it starts. It starts there. And once we get to there, then we create other things that come along with it. You create job opportunity. You create educational opportunity. You create all of these wonderful, beautiful things, but it all starts around with, where does that family live? How do we create generational wealth building for them? And it starts with a home. We stop building crap that nobody really wants to live in, but they're trapped into that cycle where they can't break free. And we give them the opportunity to build a home. And that will be an amazing situation. When that happens, it'll be amazing. When you get past this desire of building affordable housing, which is nothing but, again, multi-tenant, generally garbage that nobody wants to live in.
And it's a way for an owner to make wealth. To make
what? I love our private investors that go in and they rehab houses or apartment complexes, and they give people places to live that want to live in those places. That's fine. Yeah. But when you take and you start tearing down in mass houses and communities, or the government starts interfering with free enterprise and capital, the capital markets and development, that's a huge problem for me. Let us do what we do best in the private sector, which is create opportunity.
Yeah, and I'm coming back.
The government screws it up every time. Every single time.
Coming back to the kids, I have a 21-year-old, and we did a podcast with him, and he's young.
Did you really? I'm gonna have to watch that.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I can't wait.
It was a pretty good one.
I think it was pretty good, but at the end of the day, and we didn't get into a lot of the things that he and I have talked about on the side, just as a father and son. You know, he's frustrated about a lot of things, and he's a defiant kid, and we've struggled with him, and he is on a great path. So this is a good story. At the end of the day, though, he has a real world problem, meaning he's making X amount of dollars. He can make X amount of dollars more, and of course he could create this really super successful business and make whatever, and he can build the house of his dreams.
But let's talk about the average.
Yeah, but so that's what I'm talking about. So you just brought me right back down to it. It's like he's like, how can I own a house right now? How can I and me as a younger guy?
That is a really great question.
That is even if you're taking over your parents' house.
It's tough. I'm looking at a new house and I can't afford
property taxes, all the taxes, all of the inflation, and interest rates. Nothing that Donald Trump necessarily can control in one term. It doesn't matter. Like when we start talking about these local programs that are blight things, when I hear blight, it sounds really sketchy. I just don't. I just don't. I mean, and I know. So let me finish my point.
I don't know how much sketchy.
Let me finish, because every square inch of land in the city of Evansville has a particular value. Mm-hmm. And if you give a group of people or an organization the ability to say, well, this piece of property right now in a blighted situation is worth X amount of dollars, mm-hmm. you are putting centralized power into the hands of people. And I'm not saying they're bad people. This isn't a finger pointing thing. This isn't a whatever. You're a pure capitalist.
I am.
Right? I want to take this piece of property right down by Bossy Field, and I want to buy it for super cheap, and I want to build just a small home, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, as cheap as I can live, and I want to just not be in debt for the rest of my life for a home. So that's what our 21-year-old kids are, kids that are going to school not knowing what they're going to do for the rest of their life because of AI and because of all these challenges coming up through the changing complexion of what's going on. Again, looking at the city of Evansville, we have to get a grasp of all the changing environments and say, how are we going to keep our kids here? Like I'm not saying I want to keep them here
spot on.
from a selfish perspective.
No,
I want them to want to be
opportunity.
Here. Have the opportunity to come back and be here and not have to go into debt with a $500 a month energy bill, and you can't get a mortgage with a house. You can't buy a house for under $200,000 anymore. Like I bought a house for $100,000 in the year 2000, and I thought that was a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And the interest rates were good, but at the end of the day, it shouldn't be $200,000 now. Like that should not be $200,000. And I know this goes against kind of the.
No, it doesn't. No, it does not. Okay. It absolutely does not. This goes right.
It's a starter home.
Yes,
starter home.
This goes right back to my core principle of opportunity. When in this conversation with your son, I would love to have been on that podcast because I would love.
Listen to it, and then we'll sit and have one.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I would love to have a discussion, understanding what's important to him and what he's thinking moving forward and what he would like to see in the community. And we don't have those discussions here. We don't have opportunity for people to start life here.
Young folks to stay here.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
We don't have opportunity for people to start life here. Yep. You either get imported in to fill a job somewhere that's reload, which is becoming more and more rare.
Yeah.
Or you have family here that you don't want to leave. Mm-hmm. And that you're just kind of like,
and it could be some retirement things. Like if the energy was good, we could be a retirement community. But
we could, but we're not. And what happens is people live in the county surrounding the city because the city's too damn expensive to live in because of all the things that we talk about all the time here. But what I want to do is, and this is where we're failing. We're failing this in a big, big way. We need to start creating an opportunity for people to start life. And this goes right back to my basic tenet of we need to remember our DNA. At one point in time, Evansville was exploding. We changed the course of global history through what we did and our innovation and our desire. World War II. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. We changed the course of human history because we innovated. There was no challenge too big that we could not overcome.
But that was a generation ago. Like that was forever ago.
It was, but these people, I still run into them in the street. These people are like, oh my gosh, this would be amazing if we came back to this. This would be amazing if we came back to this. I hear so many times, and I'm so blessed to work with Ivy Tech. I can't say enough good things about them. Daniela Vidalza is leading that organization. She's phenomenal.
She's awesome.
I work with a couple of really great people in the entrepreneur program. Mm-hmm. The chair and some of his staff. They're very, very good. Very, very good people. They have such a huge passion to grow these young people's opportunity through entrepreneurial activity. And I go through and I get a chance to work with these people. And I sit down with these young adults, and I say, what do you guys want to do? What do you want to do? Well, I can't wait to leave Evansville. It crushes me when I hear that, because our town is beautiful. There's so much here. There's so much opportunity, and it's largely untapped because the engine by which it's powered, which is our youth, wants to leave. Because we're not doing anything to give them a reason to stay. There's no path to start life here. Life starts when they leave here. That's what they think. And a lot of times, in a lot of ways, Evansville's a boomerang community. They come back. They go out. They do their thing. They circle back because they are raising kids. They want family structure. They want support. They want, a whole support system around them. But at the end of the day, they don't start here. And that is crushing to me, because Evansville is an amazing place. We've filled with amazing people and amazing stories and a wonderful legacy that we have completely abandoned. Because in our push to be so progressive, we have lost anything of meaning in our DNA. We've lost our roots. Yeah. There used to be a time when people would sit and they would listen to the old people talk about the amazing things that they've done in their life. Now we don't do that. There's nothing. There's only what can be, what will be, what is, and none of it means a damn thing, because by the time we finish a sentence, they're on to the next thing. It is ridiculous that we don't honor what we have been, and we can do that, and we need to get back to that. We are a great community filled with amazing people, and that's the success story of Evansville. It doesn't matter how many things we try and build, how many initiatives get started and never finished. We need to stop doing that crap, and we need to get back to what makes us great and create opportunity for the youth that is getting ready to be adults and start life. Period. That is it. That is the biggest thing we can do to make Evansville amazing. If we get to that place, if we start working on that now, when these high schoolers are getting ready to move into where do I want to go, what do I want to do, how do I want to do it, we have the answer. Here's a path. Here's a path. This is exactly what you can do here, and we would love for you to start it here. The city is behind you. Imagine what that would do.
So John, real quickly, John chimed back in. He said about what we're talking about. So I want to see where Joe goes with this. He says, we don't have good job opportunities here that are high paying enough to afford housing, especially not for our kids.
John's 100% right.
Goes right to affordability crisis.
We are in an affordability crisis, and John is 100% spot on, because when your utilities, and I'm not just talking about one utility, but if you combine the utilities, they are far more than a lot of people's mortgages. And people just starting out cannot possibly afford that. So they're forced into rental positions, which trap them in this perpetually revolving cycle of not saving, because the rent costs as much as a down payment or as your mortgage would, but then you're trapped in a high utility for the rent. I mean, it's just this perpetual cycle. We don't have opportunities for our youth to start life here, and we need to develop that. These communities that are
preach on, brother.
Well, I mean, honestly,
seriously,
these communities that are growing, that are exploding, have created these pathways. We don't even have to reinvent the wheel. We can just take what they've got and bring it here. I would much rather spend money on building these pathways for our youth to do amazing things here and to stay here and to grow our community than I would on anything else. I would be much more willing, and I would challenge any taxpayer in the city of Evansville, if we wanted to create 2 to 3 pathways for our youth to become contributing members of our society and start life here. It costs X, Y, and Z. Are you in favor of it? I bet everyone would raise their hand. We want our kids to be here. We want our grandkids to be here.
Yeah, I'm in favor.
But
we're only sitting at this table because we're all invested in the community, and we want our kids to want a reason to come back here.
Yeah. But you've asked, how does the community get involved? That's how they get involved. You need a leader that actually sits down and says, community, and not just goes on a Facebook survey where 240 people or so, or less than 500 people in a community of 115,000 weigh in, where they literally put it out. How do you want this money to be spent? We're shrinking this. We're doing this. We have this. What initiatives? Here's the initiatives. Here's the 3 things we're thinking of doing. What do you like the most? That's what you do to create community engagement. In the Greatest Generation, that's what they did.
I will say, at the budget meeting, there were multiple. So what they kind of did is they had sheet of paper. Everybody had Post-it notes, kind of write. One was, I wish I could remember. It was like, what would you like to see us spend money on? What are the, what are the programs that you want us to spend money on? It was a division of things, and so they kind of honestly tried to do that. Most of it was roads and or public safety, so police and fire department.
You know why they want police? Because crime is outrageous here.
Well, funny you say that. One of the things that I actually had a back and forth with the chief of police,
Phil.
Phil
Smith.
Phil,
I love me some Phil.
Yeah, no,
He's a good guy.
He's a great guy.
I want to, by the way, I want to talk about how this is a person. Phil Smith has a heart for community and for particularly
Absolutely.
our
I can
kids
feel that from him.
in a way
Absolutely.
that I cherish.
Yes.
So continue on.
Yep.
No, nothing. This is not against Phil whatsoever, but the fact that there's been some pretty crazy crime lately.
Oh,
there was
bad.
over
bad.
like 4 days. There were 3 shooting deaths. There was.
It's
I mean,
bad.
and I think it's gang related. It's probably retaliation from a back and forth kind of thing. But the fact that
By the way, if you want your minds blown about crime, go download the app Crime Radar.
I have one. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's called. Crime.
Finish your point, Trev. So,
Anyway, sorry. Yeah. So there was a little bit brought up about crime, about being safe. Yeah, Phil brought up, well, he directly asked me, he's like, well, where do you live? So, well, I'm on the north side near the country club. He said, so do you feel safe in your neighborhood? I said, I did for a long time, but right now, really, geographic area doesn't matter for the city at the moment. There's a lot going on right now, and I'm kind of concerned about it. And he wanted to tell us that crime was down, that the crime statistics were down.
Some crime is down.
Well, right. No, I understand how he tried to twist that a little bit, but
shootings are not down. Shootings are not down.
no, shootings I think are higher than they've ever been.
And this
to be
is not me
perfectly
saying
honest.
guns are the problem either. It's not the guns.
No,
Guns don't shoot people.
no, it's no. I understand that. We have guns all over this room, and no one's been
No,
shot
we don't.
lately.
No, we don't.
We see a shotgun in the background of here.
I've got at least one right here.
He's got
Wait a
one.
minute.
I've got one. We've all got one.
Wait a minute. Never mind.
But there's like 17. No, there's like I don't know 5.
Enough.
There's at least
There's
5 or
enough.
6 firearms in this room. But
And shockingly, we're all still alive.
I know. None of them have jumped up.
they didn't
and
shoot us. Oh my God.
It's amazing.
No, but so one of the I'm trying to remember where I was going with this. There's a gnat flying around me here. A woman tried to speak up and talk about how crime rates. Well, started speaking about crime a little bit, and Phil tried to say that crime was down, and she brought up that statistically, percentage-wise, where crime was in the percentile. I'm gonna get this damn gnat towards the end of my life. And he wanted to say, I don't like using percentages as statistics for metrics. I chimed in and said, I think statistics are the best metrics because it factors in population and things. And Chris next to me chimed in. He's like, our population is decreasing.
Yeah.
So the fact that there might be less documented situations in which crime is happening, when you put it all together, the percentage, we're much higher than we should be as far as our population is concerned.
There's zero question. We were just recently cited as one of the most dangerous cities, as one of the absolute
I think we
most
beat
dangerous
Gary
cities.
at this point. I think we're above Gary
Per capita.
Per capita.
per capita.
One
And
of
that
the
was
most
his.
dangerous cities in Savannah.
Yeah, and
That was hurtful.
That was his
hurt me.
argument.
Well, no, what they'll point to is there are small populations that have been brought into our area that are committing crimes, but they are nonviolent crimes. So there's a lot of times, and my wife's a criminal defense attorney, so they have to
God bless her.
They have
God
to have
bless her.
interpreter days, and these people necessarily aren't bad people, but they don't understand our language, they don't understand our laws and our rules, and they don't know how to drive. And so the problem is, and
But they do understand. Don't go into someone else's house or vehicle.
Well, here's the real problem though. Like all these different things compile back to, we need to be welcoming and inviting illegal, whatever you want. Let's not call it illegal. Let's call it migrants who are
Not
I don't even know.
currently in
How do you
legal
say it in a
status or
politically
something?
correct way? So, but at the end of the day, they are jamming up the justice system. Like my wife's also, not volunteer, she gets paid, but she's a part-time public defender. Mm-hmm. So these people that aren't here legally commit crimes, and they're not violent crimes, or of driving without a license, or driving while suspended, driving without insurance. They don't know how to drive. They
can't read signage.
They can't read signs. There's so many things going on, and as a police officer, you know that. But it's like it all contributes to something that's happening. And do we want more of that? Like, are we just saying it's okay? We can have people that don't understand the rules.
You know what?
We can have. Let me pinpoint it. We can have people that don't understand the rules. We can have people that don't understand the language. They don't want to assimilate. They don't want to be a part of the community. They're here because they were placed here. Like my son has worked directly with large groups of people in that whole thing, and it's like part of America, part of the experience, part of the thing was you really had to want to be here. And when you were here, you were sacrificing, and you blood, sweat, tears for the first 100 and something years. Like that's the only way that your family survived. And now you don't have that. You just have people that you're implanting, and you don't have a thing to assimilate them into our community and make them a neighbor.
Right there is, you're speaking to a really interesting point, and it's a paradigm shift from where we used to be. Some of the most, and you've had...
I didn't agree to that paradigm.
No, very few did, but you had Alfonso Vidal on recently. Mm-hmm. You will never find a more patriotic soul than Alfonso Vidal. And a lot of
Give me another 100,000 Alfonso Vidal.
A phenomenal
all day long.
His wife, phenomenal individual.
Incredible.
He was abducted, by the way. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Did he tell you the
yeah. Oh, absolutely. We joked about the abduction story.
Oh, did he tell you he got fatter during his kidnapping than he did? Then he left.
He didn't bring that up.
Oh yeah, ask his wife.
He did say every time like his kids bring up something, were you?
Oh God, I've heard that story so many times. It's ridiculous.
He's a good dude.
It's awesome, man.
He actually got fatter during his kidnapping than when he
They fed him better while he was
his wife was like distraught. She was concerned, and then all of a sudden he came back and she's like, "You got fat." I mean, it's like. He's so charming. That's his story. So
I can get food anywhere.
Alfonso's a good dude.
Yeah, he's a great individual. But my point about Alfonso and Daniela and a whole host. I'm part of the OLA, the OLA organization.
Say what that is.
Basically, it's a community outreach program specifically positioned to help the Latino community become part of our community. And it's outreach, it's education, it's
assimilation.
Effectively, and help find placement inside organizations and all sorts of amazing things. Spanish and English, all sorts of amazing programs are a part of this. They have an LDPS program where they teach you how to be a leader within the community and how everything works, and it's just phenomenal. Luis Colon actually is the president of this organization at this point, and he's phenomenal. He's great. These people have such a passion. But my point is, you will never find more proud Americans than these people. Mm-hmm. Ever. Not ever. And I would challenge any naturally born American to be more patriotic than they are. It's not possible. They love America in a way that we
take for granted.
Absolutely. We do, because we have an experience what they've experienced. They came out of a horrible regime where they were beleaguered and beaten, and they would have to circle the block and like basically toss your loved one out the car door to run in their house because they would be kidnapped and held for ransom. That's where they came from.
There's a ton of people in the podcast community, like Chinese communists and everywhere.
Oh my God.
Like they come here and they're like, I see what's going on right now.
Don't let it happen.
I have a note for another podcast that's basically at the Color Guard. And basically it's just a whole political movement that's driving people towards communism. And
they don't it not to happen here. And
begging for it. The people that have lived it are warning us, do not do that.
My point is, in the Great Generation, and all the way through our current legal immigrants that have come here, and immigrants are amazing. They bring innovation, they bring new ideas, they bring culture. But the people who come here, not in the entitled, I get to come here because I showed up.
I was promised to do this.
I was promised this. You have to give me this. That's the wrong way to do this. America is a gift. A lot of the people that are born here naturally take it completely for granted, to your point, and we don't even understand the gift that we've been given. These people come here and they do. I cherish every single one of them, and I'm so thankful they're here. That being said, when we have people that are entitled, they want to live off the dole. They want to take and take and take and take and don't feel obligated to give anything back. That's the problem.
I don't know if they do. This is where I'll challenge you.
Well,
I think the party tells them, we're going to give you this, this, and this. And if you toe this line, we're going to give you this. So I think it's a narrative.
But
I don't think most people want it.
Here's the problem with that. You look at people like anyone in the Vidals, for example, or anyone in the people that I know, and I know people from every socioeconomic status in this community. They're amazing. They're absolutely amazing. They want their children to serve in the military. They want their children to understand the gift of America and freedom. These people that come in, and look at Minnesota as a perfect working example, they take advantage of the system. They're built inside.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about those.
I get that, but my point is that it happens everywhere in every community. We need to root that out and challenge these assumptions that's okay, because it's not.
I think there's a natural movement, like the Vidal family is a perfect example of
that family
of people that have been in like Alfonso talks about his family and how wonderful it was for a period of time, and it was like utopian sounding, and then all of a sudden things went upside down, and we don't need to get into the details of that, but then now they're like, okay, now we're in danger, and now we want to go somewhere where there's rules that we can assimilate into. When I say assimilate, I'm like, we can take our values and our discipline, and we can apply that to this area, and we can be successful again. We can take it. We know we're not going to be that for a long time here, so we're just going to go do that's an immigrant. That's why my family came here. That's why your family came 100%. Here. That's why your family came here.
My great grandmother was an immigrant. She barely spoke English, but she was so proud of being American. So proud.
The difference
they
that we're dealing
Americans.
with
they didn't care where they came from.
I'm not just going to paint this into the Democratic Party, but like the difference is if you're recruiting people to come and you're selling them on an idea that you're going to come here, you're going to get a free this, that, or the other. We're going to send you up this channel, and we're going to give you money along the way, and we're going to give you money when we get there. That was never, ever, ever, ever a part of the deal, and it never, ever should have been. And anyone that wants to have a real honest conversation about that, no one will. That's kind of the crux of where we are with that whole situation. You got the Vidal family who came through struggle, strife, education. They're smart people. They want to assimilate.
Kidnapping.
They want to be a part of it. There you go again. It's like he's still in the room. I can see
somewhere Alfonso's smiling.
I can see him chuckling right now. But like
charming.
At the end of the
that's ridiculous.
I love Alfonso.
So charming. But at the end of the day, like here's we want real conversations, and if you want to bring you just don't want people that aren't born and raised in Evansville. No, that's bullshit.
No, 100%. 100% agree.
No, that's not at all what it is. Come have an honest conversation and a debate about what we're bringing in, what we're demanding, what the expectations are to come into our community. Because my son can't afford to live here. My son can't afford to buy a home.
I can barely afford to live here.
And yet you want to create affordable housing and insert people into there under a program because they don't have enough money. My son's too proud to get into a SNAP program. He came from a fairly, middle class, affluent family. He doesn't want to live off the government.
Well,
but you're putting him into a situation where it's a tension there that we're rapidly working through. And I think that, again, from our city perspective, we need to address the real problem that is going on right now.
There are issues in this space, and it's not wrong. We need to. I believe in equal opportunity, unequal results. Everyone should.
Pursuit of happiness is a big thing that is.
Everyone should start from.
Doesn't mean you're going to be happy.
No, it does not. I've met unbelievably unhappy, incredibly wealthy people. They'll never be happy. I've met the happiest people.
Many, if not most. We could argue.
Well, no, we could argue that point. But I've also met some of the happiest people. I'm a boater, so I love boating. I've met
excuse me,
multi-millionaires on the water that are just miserable on
on
hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of boat.
Yeah.
And I've met people on little aluminum John boats living their best.
You saw it when you
I loved it. I was going to comment on it.
I'm gonna be like, hey, I got a beer in here.
They were living their literal best life. They're having the best time of their life. It's all about what you're doing with your life. It's all about where you feel fulfilled. It's all about opportunity.
Not entitlement.
Not entitlement. When you're forced down a path that feels awful, taking away the ability to buy a house and forcing you into a rental status feels awful. Mm-hmm. I don't subscribe to that. Let's build generational wealth. Let's build opportunity. That is the basis for everything that we should be doing. And I want to do that for everyone in Evansville. I think we are doing a disservice to not only our community, but also to the future of our community through our youth by not creating pathways for this. It's awful that we're not doing it.
It's just the real conversation that's not taking place.
Well,
it's not comfortable. You don't have the answer, the answer.
I have some thoughts.
Well, you have some
thoughts on some.
But the thing is, you need other people in the room to like bounce ideas off of and say, well, you do. Yes, this, yes, okay, yeah, and we can agree on that. But I think
this is what leadership is.
Nothing what I'm seeing in the local environment is moving us in that path. Like, I don't see anything, this E is for everyone. I don't see a safety net and a springboard. I don't see it. So if it's there, come explain it to me.
It is not
in
there.
Little language. Like, just give me the little words, and I can tell my son about it. I can tell my 15-year-old, who I hope wants to come back to Evansville. We have land in the area. I'd love for them to come back here. So there's incentive for me to want to teach them. There's incentive for everyone that's listening to this podcast to want to understand the path that we're going. Where are we going? What's going to change?
This is I love this topic so much for so many different reasons. I've got a really good friend of mine. His name is Josh Edwards. I'm going to shamelessly plug him. He works over at Kenny Kent. Go see Josh if you want to buy a vehicle. He's amazing. But
shameless plug.
He has a truckload of kids.
Love that.
I do too. And he's an amazing individual. And he's got such a passion for the community, such a passion for children. I've rarely seen somebody that cares as much as he does. He actually was running for city council at the same time I was, and that's how I got to know him. He would go into nursing homes and he would spend time doing like the craziest, silliest things with these people because he wanted to hear their stories, and I just admired that so much about him. But then I found out what he's doing with the youth. He came up out of the urban core. He knows their story. He was a poor kid. He worked his ass off, and now he's not. He has a beautiful family, beautiful wife, beautiful kids, and this guy challenges me all the time. What are you going to do for the kids? What are you going to do for the kids? For him, it is all about the kids. And he works me over constantly. He knows what my ambitions are. He knows where I want to go. So what do you want to do with the kids? He has focused me on this in a huge way because honestly, if we don't create opportunity and pathways for success for our youth, the city is going to die a very slow, painful death. And there is no pathway.
It could be a fast pathway to death, actually.
Oh, it will be.
We're already moving quick.
We're almost $1 billion in debt.
I want to be positive, but I also want to be realistic.
Well, the realistic picture is
I don't think you can have both right now.
But you can.
You can.
You totally can. Reagan had it. There's a way to say
I made an entire career out of buying companies in distress.
This is what we do.
These companies were desperately in distress often. Bankrupt and didn't know it. Overspending, lavish lifestyles for owners, totally tone deaf, all these things. Huge companies, massive companies that make Evansville look like nothing. right? I mean, we're talking massive companies all across the country. You buy these companies, you turn them around, and you turn them around by, one, stopping the hemorrhage of blood through financial expenditures that are totally unnecessary. You stop spending money. You start consolidating resources. You start streamlining processes. You start economizing effort, and you start creating value. Value creates opportunity. And when you have opportunity, everything is possible. But we have to start with fiscal conservatism. We have to start with what is the absolute best path for the taxpayer immediately. How do we stop sticking them for money? And we start by not losing $1 million grants from the state by not signing our name to the page.
Oh, that was something else. Wait. That was something else that they talked about. They talked about the wheel tax, and we had gentlemen from AIM.
I so wish I was there for that because I would hammer them so bad. I have the application. I've seen it. It's ridiculous.
So anyway, well, they were there though, and they were talking about the
total incompetence.
Sorry, I was switching back to you. I'm trying to control and talk at the same time here. But they were there.
You got a big job, Travis.
Yeah, no, I know. It's all good. They were there talking about how, well, first off, they were talking about how Senate Bill 1 was terrible and how House Bill, I can't remember which House bill. There were like 3 different bills.
You know what kills me about that is, I don't want to interrupt you here, but
no, you're good.
I'm going to. House Bill or Senate Bill 1 was not terrible. It just controlled it controlled a lot of different costs and spending. It forced the city to become self-reliant, which is a great thing. That's a very positive thing.
Yeah.
And the lie that we keep getting told is it's taking money from the city. It's taking money from city funding. That is a complete and total lie.
Exactly.
We have tax levies being increased year over year over year by the millions and millions and millions. It's actually increased and will increase next year because of assessed property value taxes. So they need to stop telling us this bullshit and actually give us the truth. They are just not having unrestricted increases in taxes. It's complete crap. And
that's why most local politicians, regional politicians, state politicians, this is where, again, the rubber hits the road. And they're not giving us the
and by the way,
like self-reliance, the money is not an endless supply. We've printed way too much of it. We're overextended. The more you print, the harder your affordability crisis is going to smash on top of your head.
Keep talking, guys. I'll be right back. Keep talking.
All right, need to pause?
Oh, you're good. I don't need to pause. Go.
Sure? Okay.
Yep.
I mean, I feel like this affordability crisis is
that's exactly what it is. It's affordability crisis.
Absolutely smashing down upon us.
It is.
And again, I'm not picking on Democrats because they're Democrats, but like the only thing that they want to do is spend more money and grow the bureaucracy, and that's absolutely a non sequitur. Like
we can't spend your way out of crisis.
There is no path that they can sit down and have a conversation about. So Joe, on this one, I don't know what the question will be, but what I'll just say is there's an open mic, open conversation, open debate for anyone on any side of the party that wants to come, on either party, wants to sit down and argue against what we're saying right now.
Please come here.
There is no money. They're not. They could print more and more and more.
That's just debt and debt and debt.
Debt and debt and debt, and that's affordability skyrocketing upwards. And we are losing.
Well, it's affordability collapsing, and it's debt and costs exploding.
Up. So you don't care about your kids and grandkids, fine, but they will not be able to afford to live in the city of Evansville or anywhere close to here if we don't fix it. Like it has to be fixed.
100% right.
And we're not talking about the federal government.
No, I don't give a shit about the federal government at this point.
City, county, state.
Correct.
That's all we got to worry about, right? So that's the real thing that we're dealing with.
And that ultimately is what matters the most. When you have a comprehensive plan that encompasses critical city services and also provides opportunity pathways for, most importantly, our youth, but also on the backside of that, people that are retiring, people that are transitioning into the latter part of life. those two things, the start and the end, are the most important pieces. The middle will fix itself. If you create great opportunity in the beginning, it's going to fix itself. It creates great opportunity at the end. And during COVID, I'm sure all of us remember 15 days to flatten the curve.
Yeah.
I literally had a conversation with my dad as I was being sent home from a consulting gig that I had. We're all going to work from home. I was like, oh man, this is going to be at least 90 days. And Dad's like, he literally on the phone said, it's at least 2 years. He said, this is time for the healthy and the young of America to carry the water for the rest of us. And we did not do it.
No.
Not even close.
I had a conversation in our backyard with a neighbor in their backyard that as soon as what you just said, I said the world just changed.
It shifted.
And nothing will ever be the same.
We're still trying to get people into offices every day for a 40-hour work week. What is that? This is insanity to me. People are fighting it. We're not going back. They're demanding to go back. We have to have tax bases. For the city, for any city, not just this one, but any city, any government organization to function, we have to have tax bases. We have to get people back working, back funding the local economy at a reasonable rate of return. We have to provide enough services to make it reasonable for them to pay taxes to live in the community that we're governing. Right now, we don't have that. 70% of every high-paying job that's domiciled in Evansville, Indiana, exists in a county surrounding it. Largely because it's cheaper. Also, it's much cheaper to develop outside of Evansville, Indiana, because Evansville's stupid.
And you don't have to be on Center Point. You do. Just outside of our community.
Well, you are in Center Point, in Posey County, Spencer County,
Posey, you don't have to have it. There's an option there. On the outer edge.
On the very, very outer edge, yes.
But, I mean, that's not nothing.
That's not nothing.
Because they're like half the price on the.
And at the end of the day, that's going to make a huge difference.
It's a huge
and
difference.
when 69 comes rolling through here, we complete that. Guess what's going to happen to Evansville? It's going to become a potential stop, not the stop. We are very close to becoming not the third largest city in the state of Indiana anymore. We're really close to that. We're 115,000 people. When I ran for office, we were 117,373 or so.
Well, I'm sure there's many people that are developing already that whole corridor, which I think is so first of all, I'll probably benefit from it, or at least my dad will. He owns property out in that sprawl.
Well, ultimately you will.
But that doesn't mean anything to me. It's like all you're doing is shifting. All you're doing is shifting the city problems into. You're wanting to expand the city, and the problems that the city can't solve. Bring in more tax base, and you don't have a formula to fix it. This is where we've talked about the city expansion and like taking, we fought it back in the day. My dad fought it because he lives in the county.
Yes.
And it's like, I don't want to be forced into your tax agreements because you're not doing
anything for me.
You're not doing anything for me. It's not better for me.
No.
You're just saying that I'm milking this area that I live because I don't live in your city. Like, no, that's not how voting with your feet actually happens. And just expanding your territory doesn't make your situation better. Yes, it gives you more money, but you're still screwing it up. You're still wasting the money.
If we're not prioritizing things for the greatest benefit for the community and taxpayers that live here and the families that live here and the fixed income individuals, here's and this goes right back to the IURC meeting we had yesterday. I listened to people on fixed incomes tell their story, and it was heartbreaking. I've met with people in the community. I met with them when I ran for office. I meet with them all the time. All the time. It is heartbreaking to listen to their stories about how the house that they worked their asses off their entire life. We're not talking about mansions. They can't afford it anymore, and they're looking at having to figure out what to do. And it is just the most devastating conversation that you can possibly be participating in. It is ridiculous that no one is addressing and doing a hard work that is going to be required to remediate this affordability crisis we have here. No one gives two shits because all we want is more taxes. All we want is more taxes. No, but our current government does. They want to spend their way out of this problem.
Well, they think a bigger government is the solution
because they have problems that they think the only government can solve. In reality, the government needs to shrink dramatically and let private enterprise and capitalism solve the problem. They will always be better every time.
So like 20 minutes ago, I was talking about
You guys carry it. I'm gonna do a little walk.
You're gonna do a little walk of shame there.
We might just do a little sub out.
We'll go.
There may be questions. I saw some questions pop through.
So John Zox also said corporations are using immigrants to stagnate wages, in my opinion. He also said, talking about overspending, it is the Riverfront revitalization, is the Riverfront revitalization really necessary? We can't maintain our roads or our city parks. Curious on your opinions on that.
So, super awesome questions around that. I think there are, and these are nuanced. So we can walk and chew gum at the same time. Mm-hmm. In order for us to be a place where people want to live, we have to have things that make people want to be here. Mm-hmm. A perfect working example of that is Owensboro. Owensboro has a beautiful riverfront.
Absolutely.
It is absolutely beautiful. They utilize it in ways that maximize that, not only that real estate, but also the opportunity for Owensboro. It draws people there all the time. Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
I go there. I understand.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. 100%. We have to have something that draws people. And we don't right now. We do not. I applaud this effort. I know a lot of people are working really, really hard on it. These are ready funds that are from the state, that are gathered from us, that we have the ability to start doing work on that. I think it's important. I think that a lot of people in our community are so jaded against any work on the riverfront because we start projects, we talk about projects, and we never do a damn thing with the projects ultimately. And it still looks like crap. Years later.
Look at Burkhart and the Lloyd.
Oh my God.
It's been like a year since they've touched that, and it's
ridiculous.
Terrible right now.
If we had the ability to actually see progress moving on this, and we had pride of place come into play as a result of it, mm-hmm. and we have a place where we actually want to spend time, where there weren't shootings, where there weren't drugs, where there weren't homeless people all over the place, where we could actually feel good about our kids and wives walking down the street, I think we'd all be in favor of that. I think it would be a huge draw. One of the biggest, best things we have going for Evansville is our riverfront that's totally underutilized and looks like complete trash most of the time. We can't even have a street festival down there because it looks like crap. Nobody wants to go down there. It's hot, it looks like crap, there's nothing there that interests us. Mm-hmm. It is a natural resource that we are not utilizing, and we need to. So that being said, yes, let's look into that. Let's put some effort into that. Let's actually create a plan that we stick to. Owensboro has been working on it for 25 years, and now they are reaping the benefits of it. I recently saw a study that says that over $1 billion worth of economic benefit is coming in every year because of what they've done in the riverfront. Let's do that. That's great. To address his illegal immigrant concerns, possibly. I don't know.
He just said immigrants to stagnate wages.
And when you bring in low wage work, sure, that can absolutely stagnate wages. But look at what California did. They now have a $20 minimum wage. It is crushing the economy there. People are leaving. We have automation in fast food restaurants at an unprecedented rate there because they can't afford to create a burger. No one's going to go to McDonald's and pay $25 for a burger and fries. No one.
Right.
And they have a $20 minimum wage there. It's ridiculous. It's the dumbest crap I've ever heard. This is economics 101. It doesn't work. We need to have a mix of both. And we do need high paying jobs come back into the community. We need to create opportunity. And we're doing a really piss poor job of doing that. We are not attracting businesses anymore. We're not courting them, not working every day to make them happen. And that requires a daily effort, constantly working with these CFOs, CEOs, C-suites of these companies, actively courting companies. Come into Evansville, and then this is why. We have a note, this is why. When we talk about Evansville, oh, by the way, you'll come here, you'll pay exorbitantly high energy rates. Oh, by the way, you'll come in here, taxes are stupid. You'll come in here, you have a fleet of vehicles, you'll pay a stupid wheel tax that's totally unnecessary. Those are terrible ideas.
So the wheel tax you just brought up, that was what I was wanting to speak about real quickly. Was that the individuals from AIM or AIM or whatever you talk about, they are the lobbyists for up in Indianapolis.
Oh, of course.
About everything. They were speaking about that, and I just totally lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
No. Well, you're a half a bourbon in. So.
No, I'm like there's a couple glasses in. No, they were talking about what did you just say?
Wheel tax.
The wheel tax, yes. So they were applauding us for they were applauding the city and the city officials for, good job. Last year you guys instituted the wheel tax.
I would quite literally smack them in their face. I'm so glad I wasn't there.
Well, anyway, so he was really appreciating us constituting or having the wheel tax come about and everything. Last year we're going to get grandfathered in. It's not going to change anything due to what some of the changes up north were going to happen. But my question, you probably know the answer to this, is wasn't the reason for instituting that wheel tax for us to be able to gain more state funding that we then didn't actually get?
It was to amplify state funding we anticipated getting.
But we got zero.
We got zero because the mayor didn't sign her signature to the page.
So that is the one that we
the $1 million
kind of got. Yeah. So we have that wheel tax. We're paying more money now. It didn't actually give us any benefit whatsoever. So now we're just paying.
No, now we're going to
double.
We're going to make up the difference. The taxpayers will be required to make up the difference because she didn't sign her signature, or someone in the administration didn't make sure she signed her signature
for the year.
So that was
we
one
can potentially get that
for
back
the
next
year.
Okay.
Either way, it's gross incompetence. I don't care who it is. If I was in that seat, I would take responsibility and say, you know what, I messed it up. We're going to fix it
We have
next
to.
year.
This is why it won't happen again next year.
Yeah, I will
we
literally
never allow
lose
this
my
again.
mind if this happens again next year.
But we still have to pay that extra money for however many is it per wheel, per
100%.
axle, per whatever it is.
It's per vehicle.
So we're paying all this extra money. The whole point was to adopt
Augment.
it, to be able to get these state funds that we were supposed to be able to get, and now we don't even get.
And they're
any of those.
augmenting the potential and projected loss of revenue as a result of the Senate Bill 1, which is still complete
Which they were
trash
complaining about that too.
because
So,
we're actually getting more assessed tax value than we have ever gotten in the history of Evansville, because we keep assessing more. We have a set rate of how fast taxes can increase, but we have no set rate of how fast assessed value can increase. So there's two metrics here.
This is where I'm going to have a real problem.
There's assessed value. So
what does that even mean?
I could take my house and
They're assessing your house
They say
much
you could,
more.
You could sell it for
but
this much.
there's fewer. But there's fewer people that can afford to live in your house.
No. So we have, well, yes, but not in this particular. That's not the particular. So they can only say we're raising taxes across the board 3% or whatever the percentage is. But your assessed value in your house can go up 50%, which is exactly what my house, your house, and everybody else's house did.
Yeah, my house is worth double what I paid for 12 years
apparently.
ago.
Yeah,
or 10
apparently
years
so.
ago. Excuse me. Yeah.
So instead of having a progressive ladder of here's the increase, they just jumped it up 50%. And that's how they're getting around this. Now, not to mention the fact they say, oh, public libraries are going to suffer, school systems are going to suffer. These are taxable entities. They can raise their own damn taxes. It's complete bullshit, and it makes me so
Well,
mad.
it is all bullshit because
it makes me literally want to grab
you could sell your house for double what you paid for it and go try to buy the equivalent of your house and not really have a big upgrade. So there is no moving up. You're just basically getting a new mortgage.
You're changing address.
I just want to say, if I bought my house right now for what it's worth, I would be paying $600 more a month.
Probably. Yeah.
Just so you know, if I bought my house from myself right now with current interest rates, I would probably be paying $600 to $700 more per month just for my mortgage, just for my house. That's
that makes me nauseous.
Well, so I mean, I think again, we probably should not. Let's not go to 9 o'clock tonight. But what I'll say is, like, these are the conversations, real world things that are happening that most politicians.
We haven't even talked about potholes yet.
Most politicians just slide right over the fact that all this stuff's happening, and our kids are going to have to deal with it at some point. And everything that I do since COVID has been protecting them, trying to make their way of life as good as what I thought I had my way of life. Right now, they don't have that. I lived better with no money as a child than I believe my kids can live now. Like, I had more opportunity now. Now, I'm not saying there's no opportunity, but I'm also like, not this podcast, Joe, but I think in my it's working. I turned it back on. It's working, right?
Yeah,
Did I turn it? Okay.
You're good.
That's what, it's not nothing.
We didn't get your stream, no.
That thing. Well, right as I walk in, I'm like, oh, I've heard this before. Yeah, I turned that off. What's it? That was Christopher. Wasn't it?
I don't remember.
I think we got him streaming on my.
I think it was
He was streaming in the bathroom. Anyway,
That's too bad.
So but the reality of it is, without a doubt, not only are we dealing with what we are dealing with now, price point wise, what our kids, if they try to get into a house now, the problem that we have is there is no change in the hockey stick. Like you said, like we're on this trajectory of everything's more expensive, affordability is what it is, and we know that it's terrible. Like we have to address it. We have to talk about it. I'm not saying you have to have the answer. Yeah, we need more. But we need more high-paying jobs.
There are answers, and we're just not going.
We're not talking about them. We're not dealing with them at a local level.
We're not chasing the answers. We know what the answers are, and a lot of smart people are saying this is the obvious answer. And they're outside communities, outside of Evansville. I work in the real estate industry, and my boss, she is one of the shareholders, managing broker of the company. I report to her. Phenomenally intelligent person, wonderful individual. Her name is Jenny McBride, great person. She encourages every single one of our agents, and we have a lot of them. You've got to get outside of Evansville for great ideas. You've got to get outside of Evansville for great ideas. Go out, research, talk to people. Great ideas. It's one of the best things that she can ever tell anybody. We need to do the same damn thing for the city. The same thing. We are so focused right here. We never actually go out and talk to anybody. And if we do, we don't really want to talk about it. Mm-hmm. We need to start sourcing these ideas from cities that are doing it right. And there are a lot of them. And we are too stupid to go out and get these ideas. Or we have an agenda that prevents us from doing that. And it pisses me off because there's no need to create a wheel, no need to reinvent the wheel. Go get these people. They want to talk about it. They have huge success stories. Bring it back.
Why?
I'm trying so hard not to get super fired up because it makes me mad.
So
not trying to drop F-bombs.
So I have to ask a question.
I'm working real hard not to.
I have to ask a question real quick. Why do you think current politicians are so afraid of just listening to their community and trying to make the difference?
Well, they will listen, they placate, and they go do whatever they want to do, whatever the hell they want to do anyway.
Right.
Because they have an agenda they're sticking to. Because they're paid for, bought by these people. Our current mayor prattles on at a meeting yesterday about, she pontificates about how Centerpoint's awful, but yet she took $10,000 worth of Centerpoint's money in her campaign. Mm-hmm. You can't do that. That is complete bullshit. You cannot do that. You can't take money from the devil and tell you the devil's bad. Mm-hmm. That's bullshit. Mm-hmm. We have 1,000 different organizations with 1,000 different agendas that now these people serve. I am so damn tired of people serving organizations when they should be serving us. Mm-hmm. That pisses me the hell off. I'm tired of it. I'm just so damn tired of it. And we as citizens have just grown to accept it because what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? You asked me, what can we do? Well, here's what we can do. Fire these bastards. Put people in that actually want to serve as community servants. Be totally transparent. Say, here's where it's all messed up. We're bringing in the best experts we have to fix it. And here's exactly how fast we think we can do it. Here's what the cost is. It's going to suck. We're sorry. We're going to fix it. The end. That's what you do in business. When I go and buy a business that's distressed, a shareholder comes to me and says, I want to buy this business. I said, why do you want to buy this business? Because we want to grow ours. We want to we have a strategic reason. We want to take out a competitor. Whatever the reason is, as long as it's business focused and sound, great, I'll do it for you because I want success. We go through, we take that company apart, we look at every single solitary thing on the P&L, profit and loss for those who don't know what that is. Mm-hmm. Every cost, every expenditure, every income, everything. And we analyze it in detail to determine, is it the best, highest use of these dollars? The end. Then we go over and we bolt it into the organization, we fix it, we fix every single solitary thing, and I go to the shareholder and say, it's going to cost you X amount of dollars to fix this. You wanted to buy it, this is what it's going to cost to fix it. They say, okay, we'll do it, or no, we're not doing it. One of those two things happens, it's a binary decision. We go and fix it, company's better, We either keep it bolted onto the mothership or we sell it. We can do the exact same thing with the city, and we better do it, or we're going to be in a position where the company where the city is going to crumble, and it will be.
The city is a company, treated like a company.
The city is a company, but we have legislative bodies that put guardrails around people
Do they, though?
in the mayorship. You do. Evansville is a strong mayor city. It's a strong mayor-led city, but ultimately, it's just like Governor Braun. That man is a businessman. He wants to do X, Y, and Z. Knows exactly what needs to happen. He's got a great vision. He's getting hammered by the legislature, by people like Ed Soliday says, "Go screw yourself. Go push rope because I'm not letting you do it."
But we're $1 billion in debt, though.
We're $1 billion in debt. We could instantly.
If you were a business, you'd either be bankrupt.
Oh, you'd be done. You'd never be allowed. With the revenue we have coming in and the expenditures we have going out and the debt load, we'd never be allowed to. We'd be done.
So I have a shameless plug here, real quick. I've had I told you guys, I think privately, a local business owner donated X amount of dollars
thank you
to the podcast for equipment, for creating the new studio, for and my Uncle Jerry, who's doing work at the house now, our buddy Jason, our buddy Jeff. I mean, these guys are
shamelessly plug them, man.
Putting their money where their mouth is, and none of them are asking for a single thing in return, except for, I love hearing the accountability, the transparency. Our roads are crap. Our small businesses are struggling. The affordability for me to turn on the lights and for our people that are giving us money, our clients, is getting harder and harder and harder. So every time an individual in a home is squeezed, they have to cut back on certain budgets.
Yes, they do.
Like you can't hire an exterminator.
No.
You can't hire a yard. You got to mow your own lawn. You got to do all these things. And mowing your own lawn for me was a thing that I did when I was a kid because I didn't have any money. But as you move up the ladder and you're off busy growing your business or growing your family, like you hire other people. And that's how you grow the economy. Like there's money there for me to go do things outside of the home, so I'm going to pay people to help me at the house. And that's where things are getting really tightly squeezed right now. So
these service
we have a
organizations are being
plan.
crushed.
We have a plan to support these small businesses. Again, we just got a very generous gift. They're going to help fund our new studio down near Bossy Field, and we're going to figure out a way to work these people into the podcast. But what they don't want is, we are not a Republican podcast. We're not a Democrat podcast.
You guys aren't. I promise you that. You guys.
We are an independent-minded podcast who wants what's best for our community and for each individual citizen. And so I need to find a way. I need to be a better marketer to find out how to promote these companies without bringing politics into it. It's not about politics for me, especially for these small business owners. So thank you to our monthly contributors. Thank you to the very generous donation that we just got. We will be in a new studio, Travis, correct? Let's make a deadline.
I mean, sometime in the near future. I don't know.
The contract it's starting May 1, so we need...
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
I mean, that's when I'm paying rent. We're paying rent. The people that give us money are helping us pay rent. But what I want to do is expand the podcast, expand what we're trying to do, the conversations we're having. I don't want to be at the table every time. I want to put smart people. I can be a producer.
That'd be a good change.
I can be an editor.
No, I'm kidding.
We need. Amen, brother.
By the way,
Happy Easter again.
One of the things I think would be really beneficial. We talk about youth all the time. We need to get people like Robert Cruz in here. He's phenomenal. He's a great individual. Tons of great ideas.
You're talking about potential sheriff of...
no, that's his dad.
Oh, okay.
That's his dad.
All right.
Robert is a very young Politico.
Okay.
He's up and coming. I've been nothing but impressed with this individual. I think he'll be a phenomenal individual to have on here to talk about what does he see.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's a up and coming individual in the Republican Party specifically, but I think him and a couple other people there's another in the Vanderbilt County Republican Party. Her name is Hannah. She'd be phenomenal. You get those two on here and let them talk. Let them tell you.
I think I know the Hannah you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Probably so. But let them talk.
Lives not too far from here.
I think she's pretty close. But let them tell you what's important to them, and let's put a plan together. Let's get our civic leaders engaged to put plans together that keep them here. I think.
Well, to do that, so I want you to come right back to that. To do that, we need financial backing. We need to be able to secure just enough money. And again, the podcast is going to be very transparent in how much money we spend. When someone hands me money, if they want to know exactly where I'm spending it, I will give them the exact
one of the things I really
exactly where it's going.
I do really appreciate that about you guys. There is absolutely, if the cameras pan across this room, it would be amazing that people would see. I mean, it looks like a big production, but it would be amazing to see the hard work that you guys put in. I'm so thankful that you guys do this.
I appreciate that. Well, Travis is honestly the biggest volunteer on the planet.
Well, yeah, he's the one who puts all this together from a technological perspective. We just talk a lot, but ultimately, I'm so thankful to be a guest here because it creates a platform, and I talk about Noah all the time. Kudos to him for coming on here. It gives him a platform to talk. You guys don't give a crap about political party or affiliation. You care about what people stand for. And that is something that's very rare.
The great thing about Evansville, forever moving backwards, is like people, we've been kind of Democrat leaning, but it was always about the person. And the Democrats historically have been very conservative here. And so where I think locally things have really changed is there's a new wing of the local Democratic Party that I wouldn't even call Democrat anymore. Like if I called myself conservative, which I'm more in line with conservative, libertarianism, whatever.
You're very fiscally conservative, but socially
I'm very liberal. That's why you can't. I don't want to box myself in, but at the same that's what local Democrats used to be. Very physically conservative, very even I would say socially conservative in a lot of realms. Like they loved their community. They wanted to know their neighbors. They wanted to
be involved
in things. Yes. And it's like we've gotten, and it's not their fault that we're not there anymore. The politics just evolved to what your society is doing in the moment. Like everything tries to pivot to where we are, but you have to stay with your base.
People try very hard. I think naturally people want to be in a community. The challenge that we're having is that the political entities that exist, I don't care what party you are, I really don't give a crap what party you are. They work so hard to polarize you to either personality or you must hate the other person. They work so hard to divide us. It is an incredible effort, and they are very successful in a lot of ways. But when you sit down and talk to somebody, you can find so much commonality.
That's why we try to unite those divides.
I do, and I appreciate that. That's why. This is why.
Good plug.
This is why I like this podcast because you could have Noah right here. He and I are very different politically. We believe very different things, but there are a lot of things we totally agree on and align on, and that is serving people.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that about him. If you put Mayor Terry right here, we would align on serving people. We would be very differently positioned on how we would do it.
And I welcome that conversation.
I would love that.
Well, we know it's not going to happen.
I hope it happens.
It probably won't.
The optimistic side of me is it's a glass half full. I'm going to hope that it happens.
But
it'd be better for everyone.
I 100% respect her commitment to trying to serve people in her way. I don't take anything away from that.
Yeah.
I totally
You have to be unique. You have to be your own person. You have to be your own person for sure.
Yes, and I think that the best ideas come out of being challenged. You have to bang them up. You have to bruise them. You have to be totally and completely prepared to have every idea you put into the public forum punished. I always ask, and you've heard me say this, find me the silver bullet. I don't want anything to be invincible. There's nothing off the table. Challenge me on every single solitary thing until we make it the best possible idea that we can possibly create for the greatest amount of
for that day.
Amount of people.
It's like science, dude. It's like, so the best idea for that day is the available information that you have. based on the greatest resources and information that you can pull from.
Correct. And it'll change the next day.
And it'll change, you can't change every day. You turn into ADHD, like you're like just changing your target all the time, but it's a moving needle. It's like the iceberg that you're trying to either go towards or go against, and so you have to have that continuing dialogue. Otherwise you end up exactly where we are, in a very polarized environment where people can't talk, or not incentivized to talk to each other. You don't have to talk to each other. We're just going to play politics. We're going to spend money over here. We're going to keep people not really talking about topics and just talking about personalities and the orange guy and all this stupid shit. And we're not really solving any problems when we do that. And that's the real disappointing part. I have so many local Democrat friends. I just saw my buddy Philip, and I won't mention his last name.
I bet I know him.
I'm sure you do. I love that dude more than anything. And we have, when I say butted heads, I will say that is a mild understatement. To the point where I genuinely was like, I don't know who this human is anymore. But we've come back together recently, and we both are like-minded in a sense that we really truly do want what's best for our community, and we're passionate about what we believe. I just think personally, I think he went way off the rails. And I would like to say, I would love for the fact that if he would have came to me and just had a conversation personally, not even on a podcast, and said, man, that was really, I don't know what just happened there. I don't pretend to know the answer. And I'm going to say, I agree with you. Let's just agree to disagree. And that's what we did over a beer.
Does he know that he went off the rails?
He would never admit it, but I believe he does, because he comes back to me in a even more Philip kind of way. Like, he comes back to me in a way that, like, I just want to hug you, dude, and I want to just like move past it. And that's the ego. It's a male thing. He's a smart guy. He's got pride and all that. And I don't need him to like admit you're wrong. You don't need to wear the T-shirt. But he did that in his own way, and I respect and admire that. And I invited him onto a podcast. He's like, I don't think I can do that. But it's still the same problem, because you can't just put your idea and why you've said this and why you've put this into this stratosphere to where like this is what we need to do, but you have to say it quietly in your own private crowd. I'm like, if it's such a great idea, float it out there.
I'm very confident I know exactly what you're talking about.
I'm sure you do.
And this individual has a huge heart.
Oh my God.
It's huge. This
one of the best
man
dudes that I know.
Yeah,
he's a dude's dude.
I could literally call him right now and say, "Hey, man, I've got X, Y, Z." He'd be like, "Hey, come over."
Yeah.
Or how can I help?
100%.
He would do it like that.
But the politics stopped that.
But the issue is, and I spend time with this individual. I enjoy him.
I don't know who you're talking about. Who are you talking about? I'm kidding.
I was gonna say I can tell you who I'm talking about, but
we're not outing.
No. But this person is a great individual. I
truly great.
Yes, he's a wild.
And his wife and his family are
yes. And he really puts his money where his mouth is in a lot of different ways, and
100%.
puts himself out there.
Yep.
He's very prolific on Facebook.
Not anymore because I blocked him, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, I actually enjoy different opinions. I like having discussions with these people because
you're going to drag me into a rabbit hole, dude.
I feel it's valuable.
Okay.
Because I want to see the perspective.
I agree with you. Here's where I get it. So I'm trying to engage with Mary Allen's. I've tried to engage. Well, here's why not. It's probably not because it probably is because she doesn't want to. I truly believe our friend Philip does want to, but the problem is the people that in his circles, they are attack dogs. Mm-hmm. And they don't know me, they don't know a relationship, they don't know whatever, and they just come in and they personally attack. This is actually a point of the podcast and a point of what I think why Evansville can be better. Like if we call out these things that are happening and we say, Philip, you are an amazing human. You want what's best for the community. I would never ever doubt that.
Not one bit. Not one bit.
There is not a selfish. He's not trying to do something.
He would give you the shirt off.
Dude, I mean, there's not even. And I said, dude, and that's a big word for him. Like there is no word.
It's true.
There is no word that describes how close we are and our passion for the community and what we want. There is a problem, though, however, and what I will say with amongst my friends and the people that disengage in my social media posts is I will call out your shit. Like if you attack Joe or somebody or Travis or someone I know personally, and you say, "Well, you're just saying this, or this," I'm like, "Stop.
You will.
You are off base. Here's what I'll tell you, and if you can come back and telling me why these points are wrong, this is what this person believes." And that's why I think it's mostly just a false bot conversation that is really not going on Mary Allen's pages. It's not really going on Philip's pages. And ironically, United Divided podcast doesn't have a lot of that going on. And I think there's a reason behind that. Like
I don't have a lot of tolerance for it.
Well, I have no tolerance, and Facebook and the algorithms know that I have no tolerance, and it'll be shut down. So they're not putting their finger on the needle of, let's put a lot of energy in this conversation because he just wants to unite. It's like the Charlie Kirk thing. It's like Charlie, I think, mostly just wanted all people talking. And who is Charlie Kirk now? People have forgotten about him. He's off the radar. He and I were super passionate about the guy. No, but what I'm saying is he's been forgotten, canceled, killed, move on. And that's where we are. That's really scary to me. That's the real thing in this podcast I just want to hit on, even locally. Like I feel like our deepest, closest friends who want the same things that we want have to be better at self-policing. Like Democrats will not self-police.
One of the things that is one of the real crimes I think that we're seeing in real time, and no one's addressing it, is the prolific angst and disgruntlement and division that social media creates, even amongst friends.
Yeah.
Because that individual we're talking about, he and I can go back and forth on social media, but the second we see each other, it's a hug. It's man, how are you doing? And part of that is
same thing with our buddy Neil.
Oh, you know what? I love that guy.
It's just so crazy.
But I love that guy, and he's smart. He's intelligent. He's got lots of great things,
talented,
and lots of insights. Phenomenal. But here's the deal: social media inhumanizes us. It dehumanizes us. It makes us callous to the other people. When we see something we say hurt you in person, we're sorry about it. We don't want to hurt our friends. But in the social media world, we've got a whole host of an echo chamber behind us that's going to amplify every damn stupid, shitty ass thing.
And that happens minute by minute, hour by hour,
second by second.
Yeah. And so our buddy Phil could have said something.
We start to feel good, amplified. Yeah. Oh, what I was saying, I'm a paragon of truth. I'm this, I'm that. And screw all that bullshit.
Could have completely believed it, and
he may be 100% right. But you know what? He would never hurt my feelings or your feelings in real time, in person. He was like, here's my perspective.
I didn't mean that, dude.
No. Here's what I'm
going to say, dude. Just because.
But and our friend Neil's the exact same way. And his wife is the exact same way. She would never want to hurt my feelings in person. She wouldn't.
Yeah, so
I think social media ruins this in a lot of ways.
It does a lot.
If we bring everyone into a room and we have conversations, and that I think is city leadership, and I applaud our mayor for trying to bring people into rooms. Ultimately, it's not done in a way that's completely.
No, there's no ill intent.
No, but and people
I have no anger or hysterical.
People are just worn out.
Yeah,
they're just worn out, and they're just struggling day to day to figure this stuff out. The whether you love him or hate him, the thing that Trump does is he creates a rally. Yeah. It's like a revival. You go to one of those things. I've never been, but you go to one of those things and you see these people are standing in line for hours to get in. We don't have that in our politics here in Evansville, Indiana.
I went to one of the Trump's rallies. I don't know if it was the first go around or the second go around. Not the last go around because he didn't come.
But we should have something like that energizes people. I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, he's a populist, and the Maha movement was going on.
He stole everything that the Democrat Party had and brought them into his deal.
Yeah, what they should have done.
And they couldn't do. Popular. No, he forced them to the fringes of the craziness.
Right.
He forced them by taking everything that was common to the vast majority of people.
Well, that's just what I think Evansville, my hope insulating a little bit. I don't want to insulate because I want people to be truly understanding what's going on. And it's super important, especially with how technology and AI is changing. Mm-hmm. Everything that's going to be inundating ourselves, our kids' kids, forever forward. Like, we have to have some kind of mechanism locally that we can rely on each other, we can talk to each other, we can shut the phone off.
Every social media.
I'm sorry, my son called me from golf practice because he forgot that I was on a podcast tonight. So I was like answering things. Like, I only answer emergency calls. Like, where's my ride home?
Is there blood?
You have to be keyed into this at some level because that's the expectation that we've set for our kids. But at the end of the day, the conversation that you and I are having right now, mm-hmm. the conversation that you and I are having, Travis, right now, the conversations that we have every day on, our 3 texts that we send to each other on Facebook or whatever platform we're using, is just trying to make sense of it all. And not only make sense of it all, but make Evansville actually better than it has been for a very long time. And it doesn't have anything.
It's community involvement. It's being connected.
We need better. We need.
It's a from top down leadership, getting back connected with your neighbors. Ultimately, that's what this is. That's why our community was so great in World War II. That's why it was so great in the
pre-internet. Let's just say that pre-cell phone.
By the way, in the 90s, we were this way. In the 90s, our community was 1,000 times better. We would see each other. We would go to the fall festival. We would go to
shout out to Harrison class of 1990. Man, it was so fucking awesome.
We would go over to the Riverfront to watch the hydroplanes race because that's what you did.
We would camp out the night before.
Yes.
And that was amazing.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
We would have concerts.
You guys are old.
And we would go
no, dude. That was like it brought us together.
That was the thing.
We came together.
Yes.
And the Fall Festival still does that.
They try.
I think
it gets overshadowed by a bunch of crime.
I think we could tap into that and make that even better than what it is. I mean, that actually can be taken to another level.
I 100% applaud every single solitary organizations involved in the Fall Festival.
Westside Nut Clubber.
Thank God.
Westside Nut Club is.
Thank God for them.
Westside Nut Club is probably one of our best organizations.
Hands down.
Easily.
Hands down.
Easily.
They should be an example for how to do community involvement all across the city because they're doing it in a way that is not antagonistic. They give literally millions of dollars away every year, and they do nothing but help community benefit.
And there's really no individual one person that pops up in any of it. I mean, I'm really good buddies with kind of the guy that kind of led them for the last 20 years. He recently joined 100 Guys Who Care.
Yep.
And
that's a big get.
Yeah. So I mean, Travis is now volunteering along with our very good friend who I will start talking about more and more here in the future. But I just feel like organizations like that is kind of the core of Evansville. So again, I'm going to come back around.
But that's our DNA.
This is our DNA. That's why I want to come back to you. Our search for meaning and revisioning what our story is as Evansville.
We forgot.
Because I just don't really. E is for Everyone is a bumper sticker, and it's really doesn't have anything attached to it. So I'm not saying it's a bad bumper sticker. What I'm saying is there's nothing attached to it. So like you really have to connect the dots and tell people the story of what that actually is supposed to mean. So I was never told that. I didn't buy into it, not because I wasn't interested, not because I don't love my city, not because I don't want it to be better, but because it wasn't sold very well or wasn't told very well. So this is what we need to do.
That. And you see this, again, I use social media as an example of this, but even when you ask people randomly during the campaign and things, people say, well, E is for everyone but me. That literally is something I hear all the time. Yeah. E is for everyone but me. It doesn't matter where they fall in the socioeconomic class. It doesn't matter what they do, what color they are, where they came from, anything. E is for everyone but me. And that is epic failure and disenfranchisement in what our community is and could be. It makes me sad. We need to fix that. If we start fixing the core DNA of what our community is and what we can be, we start revisioning that and getting community buy-in to what we're going to be. And we could do things like, we need to create a common cause. Owensboro did it with the Riverfront. This is our common cause. 25-year plan. Regardless of who's in office, this is what's happening. Community's committed to it for 25 years. And now they get $1 billion a year in economic benefit because they stuck to it. Evansville does a complete shit job of that. It doesn't matter who's in office, they do a shit job. They need to create a common vision that everyone's excited about, and they need to stick to it. Come hell or high water, that's what we're doing for the foreseeable. Here's our 25-year plan. We're going to do it, and this is what's going to happen as a result of it. There are lots of metrics that we can deploy, lots of information we can plug in, and as much as EREP can be controversial to a lot of different people, thank God that they are trying to create some type of vision with our riverfront. It's the most underutilized natural resource that we have in Evansville, and it completely sucks that no one's done it before. I'm thankful that they're doing it. That doesn't mean I love everything they're doing by any means, and it certainly doesn't mean I love how they're doing it necessarily. But I applaud them for making the effort, and I hope that we create the plan and we create the vision and we execute on that.
I love the political correctness you plugged into there, because I really have a lot of questions, and there needs to be much more transparency.
Well,
here's hundreds of thousands of dollars, but don't tell us
millions of dollars.
I understand that
Millions.
everything can't be transparent all the time. I get it, unless there's taxpayer dollars involved.
And there's some expediency that's involved. There's some things that happen.
I know there's
that, and I don't. At the end of the day,
I open the door to anyone in that organization that can.
Oh, it'd be wonderful.
Can say things in a way that most people can just understand would be really good, because we're talking about trust. Like anything that we're trying to grow as a community and get my kids on board with where we're going as a community and how we're going to make this community better for you. There has to be a level of trust built into that organically, that you should be able to go to whoever you want to do. Go to your Daddy Berry Plastics back when he ran the organization. No matter what was going on, I'm certain, and I don't know the man I wouldn't know him if he walked into me today. I'm certain that if one of his employees came up to him and said, I'm concerned about this is why I'm concerned about it, and here's why I think it's going to be a problem, I am certain he would address that in whatever way that he could, in the most transparent way that he could. But you couldn't say, like, here's our mission, here's what we're going for, and here's why, because there's nuances in there. There's there's nothing tying that to anything that's going on right now.
You know what's 100% amazing? There's two things. One, let's assume, and I like to assume the best in a lot of different ways. I'm an optimist. I really, really am. It doesn't seem that way sometimes, but I believe that Evansville has an incredibly bright future and an unbelievable untapped potential to reach it. I truly believe this. If we just do the right thing.
We have a lot of things going for us.
We have so many things
going for us. We could have a lot of things.
Starting.
Well, we do have a lot of things going for us. We're just not tapped into it.
We have, it's like potential energy versus kinetic energy. We have all this potential sitting there waiting to be deployed, and we're doing jack shit with it. Mm-hmm. We're actually squandering it in a lot of different ways when we could leverage it and create unbelievable opportunity, which we need to start doing. My thing that I'm trying to drive to is, when we have obfuscation, when we have confusion, we have unanswered questions, it creates doubt, which creates uncertainty, which creates fear, which creates, why is this organization doing the things that it's doing? How's it doing it? Where's it getting money? All these things.
Well, how's that trickle down to kids?
All this crap.
Kids don't understand any of that.
Well, no, they don't.
It's the needle. It's the needle that they don't see.
When you talk about EREP and what they're doing and how they're doing it, there's natural questions that come up, and when you don't get answers, you start to start digging deeper and start really having issues.
I have no reason to trust them.
Right. and I think that we could eliminate that almost instantly if answers just started coming.
Bring it.
Yeah, it'd be great. I would encourage. I have in particular a really close friend of mine. I trust this person implicitly because this person has proven themselves trustworthy in many, 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 many different ways when they didn't have to. There's no reason to do the things that they did, but they have. They've been a wonderful individual in my life. This person is highly placed in EREP. I don't believe the things that they're doing are ill-conceived or have or are misintentioned because I believe in this person. I wish there was more transparency. I wish that with every fiber of my being, so that all these questions that exist that are out there would be answered, and then we wouldn't have to worry about it.
Okay, so
that said,
I'll challenge you. If there was a top dog in any company that you had questions about the company that didn't give you any information, and you knew the vice president or the vice president of the vice president of the vice president, anywhere along the lines, and you trusted them implicitly, does that mean that just because they're attached to that organization, that it makes that organization
wholesome?
Exactly where it's going to be?
Not necessarily.
Well, not necessarily, but it's so. And I'm not trying to say that's what EREP is. But what I'm saying is, you can put that level of trust in that person,
An individual.
in the individual, and everything you know about them. But that individual may be like a year from now, I'm no longer with that organization for whatever reason, and it'll be politically correct, and it's like this wasn't a good match, and it was ever. That's just how businesses go.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's like, again, I'm not saying there was any ill intent or crime or whatever. It's just like, if I own a sign company, which my uncle Kip has owned a sign company since he was 16 years old, and he's 63 now. There is no hiding.
He's come talk to me.
There is no hiding what he's trying to do.
No, 100%.
And he's had a lot of people that work for him over the years, and he's hired and fired a lot of people over the years.
Oh, I'm sure.
And that's just the nature of business. But at the end of the day, anything that he has done or said is like kind of public. It's like, it's transparent. Like if he did anything super wrong or whatever, it would be in the public eye tomorrow. He's not protected from anything. You know what I mean? It's like if he committed a crime or if he was doing something wrong, the government would crack down on him. What I feel like EREP needs to be better is there is that veil of secrecy that like there is. You don't really have that. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think,
but again, I'm a smart guy that's paying attention. I want them to tell me more.
The problem is, because you don't have all the information, it naturally provokes questions. That's just the nature of who and what you are, and
I have a lot of questions.
And everybody else. But I go back to what I know. I say that all the time. One of the things that I witnessed in my life is my dad was CFO at a multi-billion-dollar global plastics company.
And he couldn't say everything all the time.
He couldn't say everything all the time.
I understand that.
Very best friends
understand that.
was a maintenance guy in the Evansville plant. One of his very best friends. Went to church with this man. Helped this man and his family acquire their first house. Regularly would this guy come over and be doing work at our house because we constantly had some thing going on at our house that required work. Phenomenal carpenter, great guy. And he would ask Dad questions about what Barry's doing, what's going on, how's happening, what's going on. And Dad say, look, I just really can't talk about it. I just can't tell. Or he'd give him just a little bit of information. I get it. I understand that there are some things that can't be said. But he gave him comfort in knowing that things are being taken care of. Mm-hmm. And it proved out over time. Here's what I can tell you. Here's what I cannot tell you. And it's a lot more than what I can tell you. But you're going to be happy with the result. What we're not seeing is that in between, here's what I can tell you. And I think that provokes a lot of questions.
Barry is a corporation.
Barry's a corporation.
EREP is a little different than that.
It is. It's
people,
taxpayer funded.
Non-stupid people understand it's a little different.
It is.
And it's so there's that transparency side of things that I think we don't understand even what is expected that we should understand. Like why do you need the veil of secrecy?
And I don't even know if they're trying to be secretive. I think that they just haven't gotten around. I don't know. I can't defend.
I've asked pretty direct questions, and
you cannot look at our finances.
I've gotten
we are
zero
not
answers.
Trying to be secret.
Like there is no transparency in the finances.
I think that would go a long way when that becomes a thing. financial transparency becomes a thing. All the questions will be answered.
Yeah.
Money doesn't lie. One of the first.
0 is a really interesting number.
It is an absolute. One of the things that I learned, I worked with one of the very first acquisitions I ever worked on, solo, was with a very large company out of Milwaukee, and they were buying a significant entity. We almost doubled their size, and this is already a big organization. And we were working with a very large equity firm out of New York. And this guy sat down with me, this gentleman who runs this massive fund, sat down with me and he said, I need you to go and do this research for me before we agree to put money on the line. I said, okay, no problem, great. He said, I need you to remember one thing. And he said, look into my eyes, Joe. Look into my eyes. Money never lies. And he's like, do you understand what I'm saying? Money never lies. And it's the truth. Money doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care what political party you're from. It always tells the truth. And when you realize that, when you understand that there's always a trail, there's always a path, and there's always a reason for what you've done, whether it's an agenda, whether it's a personal belief, whether it's a desire to grow something, whether it's whatever that reason is, the money never lies. The trail always exists. Sources and uses are important. And we need to get back to that level of transparency. The end.
100%.
So speaking about what we're speaking about here, John has been listening all night long. So thank you, John, for being
We
on
love
here.
you, John. Appreciate you, bud.
He's wondering, he said there are corporations affiliated outside of Vandenberg with EREP. What if their businesses are, so he said their businesses aren't in Evansville. What say should they have in Evansville business? Or am I, okay, I'm sorry. I need to go back one more. He said, why are people affiliated with EREP from Gibson County and Warwick County if it's taxpayer funded here in Vandenberg County?
It's not just Vandenberg County. It's all Southern Indiana.
Which let's talk on that here. But then he also said there are corporations affiliated outside of Vandenberg with EREP for what if their businesses aren't in Evansville? What say should they have in Evansville business? Or am I totally misunderstanding the idea?
So there's a good question.
And then he said, no problem, enjoy the show. But continue.
EREP is Evansville, right? I mean, it starts with
EREP is like
the region.
Surrounding.
I know.
The region.
Well, but it's named something that is not exactly like it's a regional.
Yeah, it's Evansville Regional. So it's all surrounding at the Evansville, basically Southern Indiana. And the ready grants that EREP utilizes are from the state. It's state tax dollars. We do contribute to that, but it's state tax dollars. So it's not just Evansville, it's Evansville Regional. So that's why EREP exists in that way.
Mm-hmm. And also that the past mayor made sure that there were funds. Anyway,
what's the other part of the question there?
Well, he just said so there are corporations affiliated outside of Vandenberg with EREP.
Sure.
So if their businesses aren't in Evansville, what say should they have in Evansville business? Or am I totally misunderstanding the idea behind EREP? Is what he said.
So is he completely misunderstanding the idea behind
I think
EREP?
that's
not entirely, but a little bit.
I think. The concept that it's Evansville focused is wrong. It's Evansville.
So they have a marketing problem.
Focus. I don't even know if it's a marketing problem. I think that it's just.
I deal with this in the podcast.
Yeah.
Like we talking about, is this an Evansville issue that we're talking about, bad roads, or is it a Southern Indiana?
We see that with the roads all the time. So they talk about the Lloyd Expressway, they talk about 41. It has nothing to do whatsoever with Evansville.
Yeah, which is
the mayor
weird. Which is just weird.
It is, and there is some level of they can influence.
The state can screw you up because they're messing with 41.
They can, but the Evansville government can
or
say,
66 in Burkhart.
Yeah,
that is awful, and it's been awful for a year.
Everyone would agree.
But the city government has some say in how that planning happens. They can say they have leverage there, they have influence, but ultimately the state's going to do what the state's going to do. So can't blame full transparency. You can't blame the mayor or city council for anything like the Lloyd Expressway, Diamond Avenue, 69, 41, any of those major interstates.
Which again is just weird, but I understand.
Yeah, but you can. They could influence some plan, and they could do a little bit better work there. But EREP is a regional. It's Evansville Regional because Evansville is the third largest city in the state. There's no other anchor city that it would be associated with.
Well, I would love to have an open dialogue with EREP. I feel like moving forward as a city next 5 to 10 years, if there's not better communication with how and what they're doing and how, I mean, this is just me as an independent person. Not talking about politics. It's just like trying to sell my kid on here's what we're trying to do.
Sure.
Here's why they're here and they're taking money. Are they doing what's right or what's wrong? Do I agree with everything they're doing or not? Disagree? I mean,
I think the biggest problem with the way EREP works, or the perception of how EREP works, is the city government, Evansville. They're working on this Riverfront project. The city government has no purview over that. Zero. EREP comes through, does what EREP's going to do. They put this plan in place to do all this stuff. Evansville has very little. There's no city government responsibility. We have surrendered that to EREP, and that's our damn Riverfront. We should be leading the charge, and we surrendered it to an entity.
Who's we? I didn't do that.
The city government has surrendered this to EREP.
Well, I didn't do that though.
But you have, because
I didn't vote on it.
You have, because she's elected. De facto, you've surrendered that decision.
So Mayor Terry handed that over?
Correct.
That wasn't the prior mayor that handed that over.
Not really. There was no Riverfront development project necessarily that was doing any of those.
These are the little details that are kind of important to me, and I'm not. Like,
It is.
It's not.
Our former mayor now runs EREP. He's a CEO.
Which is a whole nother thing. Yep.
Which he is always been, rightly or wrongly, and I'm sure he and I have differences. I'm sure we have ideological differences. Rightly or wrongly.
Well, you're not a Democrat.
Fair. I mean, I mean, there's that. There's many opinions.
Never mind. Anyway,
but
that was a funny little joke. Yeah.
My constant assertion is he's been Evansville's biggest cheerleader.
Yeah.
Phenomenally good at forwarding Evansville in the state. And I know this because he worked all the time. His administration worked all the time to try and keep big businesses in Evansville. Yep. And the second that he wasn't there, businesses started to leave. He worked very hard to keep. He understood business is the key.
Yep.
Now that he's an EREP, he's doing it regionally, which great. That may be a perfect fit, and I don't take that away from what his skill set is. He's got a great skill set in that. He is the region's biggest cheerleader. He always has been.
He's an ambassador.
He's a huge ambassador, and he's constantly working to bring that in. That said, I'm sure we have lots of ideological differences.
Let's talk about the topics. I don't care about that.
Yeah. My concern is, why are we surrendering Evansville's future to an organization that's not Evansville focused? That's my biggest problem. Get it back. Create opportunity for Evansville, for our youth, for our community. We're not doing a good job of that. We offload that. We are outsourcing all of this.
Well, I understand, like, you make southern Indiana a better place and everyone wants to live here, but all that does nothing for Evansville, and the
counties grow bigger, the city shrinks, and
that's why then Evansville wants to swallow all the local communities, which I just, in my heart and soul, believe is the wrong path. We don't need bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger cities and counties. We got
to remember, they're trying to gobble up tax base.
We don't need that. We don't need that. We need to hold people accountable.
We're $1 billion in debt.
We need to hold people accountable.
To survive, we have to.
We don't need a small circle of accountability. Like taking your shitty, I can't organize and keep enough money in this circle, and taking it out. All that does is expand your level of, like, okay, we can drag this failure on until we suck all the life out of all these other things. I mean, anyone with a brain can see how you manage your household. You can keep your money, you can organize your finances and do what you can do. Like, if you can't organize your little community here and, like, keep enough money, whatever, and, like, if you just keep growing it, it doesn't mean you're better. You just have more money to waste or to whatever. And I'm not saying Winnicke was that. I'm saying, like, it's a citywide issue. It's not a mayoral issue. It's here's what we are.
See, that's where I disagree. I think it is a mayoral issue. We have a leadership vacuum that is not being met and is not meeting the needs of the city. We are in the middle of an affordability crisis that is not being addressed.
Yeah.
That's it. We are becoming unaffordable through utilities, through taxes.
I would argue we already are unaffordable. For many people.
I think that's a very fair statement. Why do you think we have an affordability housing crisis? Yeah. It's because we are no longer affordable. It doesn't mean that we can't be. It means that we aren't by choice. Our leadership is taking us out of affordability and creating new reasons to be unaffordable. The Evansville Water Utility is controlled by the city.
Yeah.
And they're raising rates.
Yeah.
It's going to be astronomical. It is ridiculous. People are complaining about CenterPoint. Well, we have a city-run organization that is now raising rates and is going to cripple people.
Yeah.
It is outrageous. We can go on and on and on. And on.
Well,
And I know Travis has got...
No. To wrap this up, we've not been able to talk for 3 weeks, and this is actually I'm gonna wrap up the podcast. We've not been able to talk for 3 weeks, and it seems like we're far behind in keeping up with where we need to be with just accountability and transparency. And I feel like we've agreed to talk bi-weekly. I would invite anyone from the Democratic Party or Independent Party or Libertarian Party to come have a conversation and say, here's what I think we're not doing right.
Or here's a solution.
Here's a solution.
I like solutions
topical
better.
solutions. Topical. Like, let's
Yes.
talk about how our roads can be better. Like the song coming in was, we've got a lot of potholes. Our buddy Chris has talked about, like, there's no way that our budget for our roads can ever keep up with our roads.
It's impossible.
Like, we're
Mathematically,
like, how
it's
big
an
is that
impossibility.
thing that we're
We
putting?
did like 6 or 7 miles of roads last year.
Yeah, I mean, so
Astronomical amount of miles.
there is no keeping up with that on our current path. So that's just a mismanagement, lack of
$136
leadership.
billion or $136 million. We should be able to fix the roads.
We should be doing something other than what we're doing, and so I want to thank you again. Like we could talk probably for another 2 hours, and it's actually is almost 9 o'clock. I can't believe it. We've been talking for 3 hours, right?
A little over. Yeah.
So
I feel so bad for you, Travis.
no.
Why? No, it's all good. It's all good.
He's got a young daughter, and that like I gotta whatever. So I so appreciate you. I feel like we are making a difference. I know the people that talk to me on the back channels and say that,
The back channels?
Back channels.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought
So handing me money yesterday to say I appreciate what you're doing. Do more. Like I'm not just we are not Channel 14 or Channel 25 or any of these channels. We don't have a corporate budget. We are not taking money from CenterPoint. We're not taking money from these corporations.
If you took the money from CenterPoint, I wouldn't be here. Guaranteed.
Well, no, I know you wouldn't.
I would not.
I know you wouldn't, but that would make our budget much easier to find.
much easier.
I'd get a paycheck.
So yeah,
Yeah, you would.
Travis is not getting paid on bourbon anymore. Maybe I buy him lunch more than once a week.
That's all right.
But at the end of the day, what people have to understand, if they want true transparency and accountability, and that's even if the mayor changes hands, and you still need a civic led group that holds the government accountable, that's not reliant upon the city of Evansville to give it money or a corporation to give it money or whatever. You need individuals.
But that's what this is.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what this is.
But and even if it's not United Divided, if it's another concept, I fully believe we have to have people that are forcing these conversations. You have to do it.
One of the reasons I really like coming on here is, one, you don't agree with everything that I say, and I love that. I want to be challenged to come up with the best solution. I think it's very important. I would welcome anyone that wants to sit here with me or without me here. Please come here and create better solutions for the community, but also the people that are supporting you, the opportunity for a venue like this to exist is so critical right now. You guys don't have an agenda except for making things better. You literally don't have an agenda for making things better. We come on here unscripted. I have no idea what we're going to talk about at any given time. You hit
I
me.
ask you, and to your credit, you don't really answer me. What you want to talk about?
I never do. Because I want to...
It needs to be organic.
I want it to be
real.
organic.
Yeah.
I want this to be a solutions-oriented conversation. And I really, really, really want anyone on the opposite side or anyone in the government or anyone ever to sit here and feel very welcome, because you challenge, but you never attack. You are very agnostic. You don't care if you're Democrat, Libertarian, or Republican. You just want a solution that helps the community. So everyone that's supporting this podcast, everyone's supporting what you're doing. I'm so thankful.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful. And I know that you guys would not take money from me because you know what I'm planning on.
No, because I might have to.
You might have to. You might have to bust me up. It's like me.
I'm not creating a budget based on somebody that has to question.
Yeah, 100%. It would be like me.
I could take money from Centerpoint.
Yeah,
but they wouldn't pay me.
Oh, they might. They might pay me.
If you, as long as you don't say ask these questions.
Yeah,
it's fine. Like,
but you would never do it.
So what you're saying is completely accurate, and again, small businesses understand that energy kind of is the central thing to everyone living in this community.
Utilities and cost of living is central.
Well, I mean, if your energy prices are more than your mortgage. Or all the other costs in your life,
and then compound that with water.
Well, no. There's just no end in sight, Joe.
That's a problem.
There is no like we're going to cap out and we're going to get better. Like we can have a nuclear conversation and we can say we're going to have this investment, and then we're going to like
it's better.
And I'm not saying that I know that that's true, but what I'm saying, like, we can have that conversation. We're cornered into something we can't have the conversation about. We're can't control it. We're trapped. So people are scared as shit. They don't want to move into a city where they know they're trapped into that.
You're so dead on here, it's painful.
The tax base is never going to get better in that situation. So the city's going to have to charge more and more for the people that can say, I'm going to stay, and they're going to force more and more people out. Same shit that's happening in New York, same thing that's happening in California.
100%.
It's coming down. Like, it used to take 10 years for the shit that happened in California and New York to hit here. We're now within like 2 years or a year. I really feel like we're like, everything is much...
If we stay on the same path we're on, we were going to go from subsidizing mediocrity to leveraging every scrap of wealth.
I'll just say bankruptcy.
Honestly, right now as a city, we're bankrupt and we don't know it. We're acting like we're not. If I were looking at this...
No, you're bankrupt.
Yeah. If I were looking at this as an M&A guy, this for a company, I'd be like, oh... let's give them a year, and then I'm going to take them apart. And I would chop this thing up.
So who's going to benefit when it gets chopped up? That's kind of my next phase of
the government doesn't get chopped up. What happens is this becomes, you see it all across the steel belt. It just becomes a derelict city where people will just slowly die of attrition.
Let's not go there. Let's stay there.
We don't have to.
Cup half full tonight. We're going to wrap up because I feel like we're going to have another conversation in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm holding it.
I would love to bring Robert Cruz in for this conversation.
The next one?
Yes, the next one. I would love to try and bring him in. If you guys are willing to do that.
2 weeks from today. So here...
Or Hannah, one of the two.
Well, so here's my...
We might have the space done by then.
So that's the thing. I've promised my wife just in this space, I'm not going to bring a bunch of new people in here. So.
And what are you going to do with this space when you're done?
Oh, it's still going to be it's still going to be a private podcast space. This is a conversation space for people that are in, not my inner circle because I agree with you politically, because I trust you. Because
you agree with some of me politically.
Well, I don't want to agree with everything with you. No, and if you are, you're not useful to me because I think that's kind of silly.
If I agree with you entirely, you're unuseful.
I mean, yeah, that's not right. Well, the guy that just gave me a big chunk of cash, he's like, I don't agree with everything that you have to say, but I'm like, stop right there. Like if you did agree with everything that I said, I don't know what we're talking about.
One of the most interesting things I ever heard is the analogy of, the favorite restaurant. It's one of the most interesting things politically I have ever heard. And it's so simple and it makes so much sense. If I like 60% of the things on a menu, it's my favorite restaurant. Mm-hmm. If I like 70, I'm never going anywhere else. 80, I'm bored.
When you say
100%.
Menu, see, we're a little different, and I'll just disagree with you. Part of it is menu for me. Part of it is how I feel when I'm there.
Yes.
The people that walk in the door.
Yes.
The comfort zone, the level, the zen that I can go to.
Yes. 100%.
And I can order the same two things. It's not about 70% of the menu. It's like, give me the thing that I want.
The two things I love and give it to
the right person's going to walk through.
I used to have a restaurant again, it doesn't exist, so it's not even a shameless plug.
Fox and Hound.
Sauced.
Oh, sauced. Okay.
Sauced downtown.
Fox and Hound was a good
Scott
one.
Shimmick.
I miss Fox and Hound so hard.
Yeah, Fox and Hound was good.
was a good one.
Cork is my new go-to.
Oh, Pork and Beaver.
Yeah, I love
Steve
Cork.
is a freaking.
Those guys are great. They serve me lunch at least 2 to 3 times a week.
He's an incredible human.
Great people.
The owner is an incredible human.
But Sauce used to be the go-to. I would go down there. I'd see people I know. I'll want to see them. The experience was amazing. The ambiance was fun.
Shimmick is amazing.
Oh, Scott's great. He's doing great things in the community still. And Reed was phenomenal. Made you, every time you walked in that place, it felt amazing. Like you were the best thing that ever happened to their day.
I'll take you back to Firefly.
Oh, yeah.
And my friends own.
Yeah.
Robert.
I'm telling you, but
And two friends of my wife's, very close friends. They're no longer really friends, but like that was the thing.
But
that
if
was
you
not
can-
Evansville. That
Yes.
was like you could bring in a New York bistro or something and plant it in a strange, weird spot. Like you
so
never
weird.
expect that it should be there.
But if you could create that in a political space, it's magic.
Oh, yeah.
It's magic. And that is what.
That's why I love liberals, man. Liberals are the best.
Oh, they're the biggest conglomeration of misfits.
You can't
ever.
have good stuff without liberal people.
The only thing that makes things better is challenge and banging up against other people.
Yeah.
You create the best ideas. One of my favorite things I ever heard in business, and I hold this axiom close to my heart. It's a Steve Jobs axiom. He's like, I bring the biggest assholes I possibly can find into a room. I toss out an idea, and I just wait to see what falls out the bottom.
I love
And
that.
the smartest, biggest assholes I can find. And that's what he did. And he created Apple like that. And he was a phenomenal disruption to the market. He created magical things that we all use every single day.
We got two pretty good
I
assholes.
bow down to
this-
Steve Jobs, man.
This is what we need to do in government. We need to be totally unafraid to challenge this.
And what let's not say government. We need to do it in Evansville and surrounding counties.
Well, government is Evansville. Government
Local, we need
constrains what we're doing. in
Again,
Evansville.
my wrongness in my life has been I focused on higher level things and the trickle down and how it affects us, and that is very true. Like everything that we're dealing with the energy policy and whatever is stuff that happens at a
Same
national
thing
level.
though. It's status quo. We're accepting the status quo. We're afraid to challenge.
As people in Evansville, we just like, well, we're just going to take what we get. I'm like, no. Like you
Screw
need to
the
understand
status
what's
quo.
going on right now, and you need to say, hell no.
But here's the problem, and I listened to this all last night. These people are working their asses off just to live life.
Yeah.
That is not their job to be totally educated on how energy policy works. That is not their damn job.
We don't have time for that.
They've got their own shit that they're dealing with, and God bless them for it. I listened to a nurse pour her heart out on behalf of a lot of other people as well. God bless her. God bless that woman for being up there. I applaud her. She doesn't know the first thing about energy policy, and she doesn't need to. She knows she's doing everything right, and she's getting hammered. It is the leadership that she elected to represent her that's required and obligated as a matter of course to hold the position to do the right thing for her. And they don't give two shits. And
our job as a podcast, me and Travis,
hold them accountable.
I won't even add Travis because I feel like he's only doing as much as he can do. It's ultimately my responsibility. I'm not the mayor of anything, but like I will not, as long as I'm living and breathing, what you just said kind of just pinpointed it. We have to have accountability. We have to demand it.
Has to happen.
If we want, and it's not getting any better on its own. It will never get any better.
It won't.
On its
It will
own.
only. We are in a constant state of entropy. That's the nature and the course of physics.
Was it
will
nihilism? Nihilism is managed decline.
But it is.
and
But
that's
entropy
exactly-
is the state of natural destruction, right? So it naturally will.
Entropy
deconstruct
and nihilism overlapping is what we're
we
doing.
can 100% change the course if we just work at it a little bit and use, dare I say, basic common sense.
Well, in spite of your Republican, nature,
spite of it.
I love you, Travis. I don't know what you are, but I love you.
I'm a person.
You are a predator. I am an individual.
A lot of different things.
He has a beautiful young daughter that he's got to get home and tuck into bed. And
Yes.
I appreciate everyone that's tuned in tonight live and otherwise watching after. I am dedicated. We are dedicated. I'm bringing people like Joe onto the podcast who are dedicated to having honest conversations, holding people accountable, demanding transparency,
Critical.
and demanding that our city actually and our counties, Warwick, Vandenberg, Posey, everything touching this community, Gibson, we all get better. We demand better, and we can only do that together. Travis, I can't do this without you, really, right now. So I appreciate you. I really do.
The only thing I would add.
Don't ask more of him.
No, I can't.
He's gonna have to unvolunteer from something else.
Right, he's got enough. The only thing I would say is, please send your thoughts and prayers to everyone involved in an officer-involved shooting. It is a horrible situation.
I haven't received any more.
There's no more information from that one?
Other than there were no deaths that I saw.
Okay.
No critical.
Critical?
As far as I know.
Okay.
It's a
I
horrible
apologize
situation.
for not bouncing back to that.
And anytime an officer has to get involved in that, it is a horrible moment, and it is a life-changing. And thank God for our law enforcement community. And I hate that on the other side of the equation, someone was in a situation where that was involved. So please,
The family's on the other side, no matter what side.
it's absolutely horrible, and I just hate this for our community. And I would encourage everyone to say a prayer tonight for everybody involved.
Amen. I will say a prayer. And let's just not cut it off too quick. And I appreciate that. Thank you for interrupting and bringing that. I think that's beautiful. We are understaffed. We need more public servants. We need our officers and our firemen and everyone. Like,
we need people to respect them again.
yeah. So
When I was a kid,
part of that is
there
what we're doing.
was so much
I think.
respect for
Part of
the
that
police.
is we're on the early stages of that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Like, this is an education podcast. At the end of the day, we have to remake what our foundational expectations are for our city. We're kind of dealing with it right now from a top down a little bit. Like, here's our leaders and here's what they're demanding. But those people are also on school boards. Those people are also on what they're demanding from our public institutions and our. We need to change how we're looking at our community, and
We do.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about
We
that.
need to get back to a much more morally centered compass.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we need to understand that, this goes both sides in the police equation. It goes to both sides. Police need to be more understanding, and they do a phenomenal job.
If you start with police, though, you're off base.
You are.
You
are 100%
You have to
right.
start with the individual. You have to start with the family,
The
and how
issue
those
is-
things affect the family. And police are only come into your family's purview.
100%. We're only showing up on your worst
It's a
day.
late stage thing.
No,
Like,
we are the consequence to action.
Yeah.
That is the extent of it. And I do this, I show up to this. I would say that we need to get back to your point, Travis, respecting the authority that's over us. If a police officer I am a police officer. If they stop me, guess what I do? I comply in every single solitary way. I have been stopped by police many times.
because you drive pretty fast.
I drive fast. And you know what I
and
mean?
you have a pretty noticeable truck.
I do. It's fast.
A number of trucks, Jeeps and whatnot.
Yeah. And you know what I do? What do you need, sir?
Yeah, right.
I am at your convenience. I understand where I am. That is something that we need to educate our kids about. That is something we need to educate our public about. And we need to understand, we need to re-educate the interaction between law enforcement and the community.
Respect amongst each other goes a long way.
It does. And you know what? One of the most amazing things I have ever seen, I work as a police officer, and I have a phenomenal group of people I work with. I watch one of the deputies I work with. His name is Sam. He is a great individual. He's one of the most laid back people I've ever met, but I would trust this man with my life, and I have. He connects with people just like that. And you know why? He says, "Tell me what's going on in your day. You okay?" That's the first questions he asks every time. It doesn't matter what we're doing. What's going on in your day? You okay? That is the two questions he asks, and Everybody's
like,
does it. They go, oh my God, that was so bad. It doesn't matter what we're doing.
Let me tell you.
Tense to non-tense.
I have literally watched
That's
this.
amazing.
Man.
He needs to be a trainer, dude.
He's phenomenal.
He needs to be a trainer.
He's phenomenal.
He needs to be a regional trainer.
He's a really he's a young deputy, and he's
young?
He's young. He's absolutely killing the game.
Whoa.
He is phenomenal. He's got a great perspective on life, and he was trained by my partner. And he's just so good at what he does. He's got a huge passion for serving. And because he has this passion for serving, it shows up in everything he does.
That's amazing.
And kids love him. People love him. He diffuses a situation like that. I mean, it's unbelievable. One of the first arrests I ever saw him do was at a fair. So we're sitting there. This guy was pretty aggressive. We knew he was aggressive. And we have 2 deputies. I'm there. A couple of city officers there. We have this guy surrounded. And we're expecting him to fight. We are 100% expecting him to fight. Sam walks up and goes, "Hey, man, you doing okay?" And this guy looks at him and goes, "Not really." And he's like, "I hate to do this, but I'm going to have to put some cuffs on you." And he just hooks him up just like that. And you know what? It happened so fast and so passively, I didn't even realize it happened.
Yeah.
We're expecting to have this huge fight, and they just click, done. And this guy found himself in a squad car, treated respectfully, with mutual respect on both sides of the equation.
You just created a whole 2-hour, 3-hour podcast.
It can. And we should have that discussion, because Noah would.
My wife could participate in that one.
She should. And Noah should be here. And I should be here.
Yeah.
And other people should be here. Because that's how the community should work.
Yeah.
That's how law enforcement should work. My partner has done the same thing. I have watched him talk us into situations and diffuse situations that are absolutely horrible. I watched this same man where we have worked on a habitual drug user dealer, where he's gone from arresting to trying to do everything we medically can to save this person's life. He cares about the community. He cares about the people he's serving. It does not matter. A human life is a human life. This person is, by all measures of society, a terrible person. He's dealing drugs to kids. All of a sudden, we respond to a medical emergency, and here's this guy doing chest compressions, trying to desperately save this man's life. That's what law enforcement does. That's why we should cherish our law enforcement. That's why I ask everyone who's listening to this, please say a prayer for everyone involved in that officer shooting, because these people have hearts and they see things and they experience things, and we're involved in things I cannot explain. It changes you. This is why I want to be a public servant. This is why I want to serve people, because the more influence, the more ability I have to change the course of a community and do good, I think that is our highest calling. More opportunity, more good, the best possible opportunity for the most possible people. That's the mission. That's it.
That's beautiful, man.
So
beautiful.
That's really the thing. So please say a prayer for everybody involved in the officer involved shooting. And
it sounds like no one's gonna die.
I hope not.
Tonight.
I hope
It doesn't look critical from what I saw.
So that's great.
The mental toll that will take. Discharging a firearm in the line of duty is a mental toll that cannot be understated, regardless of the outcome.
We can't do enough podcasts to talk about that. We do have several other local podcasts, including our buddy Brian Bishop, who's talking about PTSD and those issues that are going on when you have to engage in those things. Like the toll that takes on the individual is very significant. And
by the way, all the other EMS are responding to that situation. The firefighters, the EMS,
they all deal with it.
We all see that.
Yeah.
I've been a firefighter in the past. It's not just police, it's everybody.
Yeah.
And it is a horrific toll that we do not give these people enough credit, and we don't say enough prayers over them. So thank you, everybody that's involved in that. Thank you so much.
Incredible.
So
again, I thank you. I love you, Travis.
Absolutely.
I love you, Joe. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Anyone else?
So thankful to be here.
Please,
three egos here.
Please,
or the Three Stooges,
whichever.
Please agree to come on to the podcast, talk about things. I promise we will agree on most things, and
you guys don't attack.
Slightly
you guys
disagree on
but you
something.
don't attack.
There's no attacking. I don't want to be right. I just want to make our community better, and I think that's why we're here.
100%.
Agreed.
And hopefully we've contributed that tonight. I love you guys. Thanks, everyone. Please find us on Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, Twitter, Facebook. If you want to support the program, go to Patreon, Unite the Divided, and become a subscriber. And I appreciate all of our local business owners who are contributing and stepping up. Just yesterday, I mean, it makes me, I'm a little weepy inside because I just love it. These conversations that we have are touching people, and I greatly appreciate the support. So thank you all.
Yep.
No, that's
Take
awesome.
care.
Yep. Have a good night. See you guys.
Take care.